So welcome everyone. Calling to order the Monday, November 13th Committee of the Whole Admin and Operations meeting at the South Edwardsburg Community Center here in Johnstown. We're a couple minutes late getting started. It's about 6:40. At 6 o'clock we did our long-term employee service awards, and congratulations to our long-term employees. They provide us, our township, fantastic work over many years. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Will somebody move to approve the agenda, please? Moved by the Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, seconded by Councillor Ward. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, I'll move on to number 3, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest or the conflict of interest and the general nature thereof. I still stumble on the conflict part. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest, a conflict of interest?
I have one. I'll be stepping away at 8.
8. Have you filed the appropriate paperwork?
We'll get it done. Yeah.
It will be filed.
Okay, and so as long as you've done your part, I don't need to worry about anything else. Thank you. Are there any other further? Right, seeing none, we will move on to business arising from the previous Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Does anyone have any business arising from the minutes? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to delegations and presentations then, and I welcome from the South Nation Conservation Authority, talking about the septic system program, Allison McDonald and Carl Purdell. So roughly 10 minutes for a presentation and then questions from committee after a presentation.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll set a timer and give you a warning in 9 minutes. Does that work? All right. No.
So while we're just getting the slideshow set up, I'll introduce why we're here. First of all, thanks again for having us down. It's our second delegation in the space of a couple of months. But we started this in time and for a couple of reasons. You don't currently have a board member representative in this council to South Nation Board of Directors. That's shared through Leeds Grenville through a system that rotates the membership over a number of years. So currently we have board members from North Grenville and from Leeds Grenville. For that reason, we think it's actually important to come down once in a while and talk about key programs and services and make sure that you're informed on what's happening. This is especially pertinent. We just finished our first year running part 8 of the building code administration, which is sewage systems inspections and approvals. We've been running that with the municipality for the last year or so, after taking it on from the health unit. And here tonight with me to give an overview of that program, how it's going, and some of the key things that that does for the residents of the municipality is Allison McDonald. She's our Managing Director of Approvals, which includes septic program, planning, and regulations. So that's it.
Awesome.
How like that? I want to know how many minutes
You've got lots of time.
Overview of the breadth of programs that we offer. I know we were just here talking to you about our category agreements, but there is a whole natural hazard mapping program, like flood forecasting warning, especially important along the St. Lawrence River, our environmental planning review services, and drinking water source protection. Lots of great examples of photos on the screen of things we've done in the local area, including our work in the Port of Johnstown, which is a special pride for us. A fish habitat compensation program we worked on with them. And I think there'll be more stuff coming along the St. Lawrence in terms of some compensation programs for big development that's coming, which we're very excited about. We also have our source water protection program, flood forecasting and warning, which is our advanced warning floods for residents. We apply for grants for these programs, and our tree picking program. Really popular with residents, especially these days. So let's give a quick overview of that. The land we manage, forestry programs, but really as Ross said, what we're here to talk about today is the septic system program. So we know that affordable housing is extremely important at this time. It's something that we're very committed to, in our office, is making sure that we have good investments in housing in places where people are gonna get a big return on that real estate investment. But also for average residents to ensure that when they purchase a home, they're getting the value out of that, and that relates to our septic program. So we established our program in 1999. We've been delivering it across our watershed, mostly Prescott Russell and SDG, since that time. We have 4 full-time staff who are certified and licensed. And we also have environmental staff, engineers, we have legal staff, we have planners. We're all part of this development review program that we offer. We have 50 years of combined experience. And currently service 17 municipalities. We're gonna breeze through these slides real quick for you. So there are a bunch of different conservation authorities within the area, and you're probably familiar with Cataraqui, Mississippi, Rideau. There's also Raisin Region, which is more towards Cornwall and Quebec border. So we work with all the different CAs in sort of the Ottawa Valley, but we are one of 2 that offer this part of the program. This is an example of the permit distribution in 2022. So we issued about 440 building permits. Last year, 164 record searches, 80 renovation reviews. This is to show you the sort of the breadth of the geography we cover, and the number of permits we're accustomed to getting out on a regular basis. Now, for the 2023 program status, this is up until November 9th. We're currently at 440 building permits within the whole watershed. We are committed to timelines as high as we can possibly hold them. They are between 1 to 10 business days to turn around a permit. We get inspections done with 1 to 3 business days notice as well. And we really do pride ourselves on our customer service. It's very important to us, to all the members of our team, and to our board, who have a customer service standard that we pass for the whole organization. Some specific stats for Edwardsburg Cardinal, just to show you when we took over September to December of last year, the permits issued, and then to date in Edwardsburg Cardinal, 33 septic permits issued and 58 permits completed. So it's been about a year since we've transitioned this program. We wanted to talk to you about, the things we think are going well, and we're also here to hear from you, your feedback on that, and if you have any additional ideas of things we can do. So just to cover the types of improvements and service we offer, we have a very efficient program administration. So we accept our applications in person, either at our office or at the municipal office, or by email. We schedule inspections by person, phone, or email. We want to make it as easy and convenient for people as possible. We have a great website that has a ton of information for people that includes all of our forms that are fillable, fee schedules, lists of contractors and installers if people are looking for someone. It's a lot of work to maintain that list, but people really appreciate it. And we are also available to meet folks at your office or another municipal office if it's more convenient for them. So we really try to make sure that people have an easy time getting through the administration of this process. We also are very focused on building relationships. So as you can see on the screen, there's a number, specifically for septic systems, there's a number of people we work with. So we interact with all kinds of different businesses and contractors, installers, designers. And over the past few years in SDG, we've built relationships, and we're working to build these relationships. And we're really relying on help from different local people to connect us and make sure that if there is any issue, we're resolving them and getting to know each other in a positive way. For our partnerships at work, again, our goal is that we provide a high quality system. And what that means is we want the system to last for homeowner 30 years, not 15 years or 10 years. When you're spending that much money, it's important that everyone's getting a consistent system that's going to last them for that investment, and they're not going to have to make that investment again. And we see how financially devastating that can be for people who are not expecting it. So we take a lot of pride in that as well. We have very responsive inspectors, and what's not written on the screen is that they do answer their phone on the weekends, even though we tell them they don't have to. They call people back on Sundays. They're always available if someone needs them, especially if there's any kind of emergency situation where someone needs them. They're always there. We have very strong administrative support in our office. We have 2 admins who full-time are trained on that program and can answer questions, get information out to people. And we have an inspector in this Grenville daily, and that's something that we adjusted over the past couple months the demand was there, and we sure there's always someone here in the utility hall. We also host a lot of free workshops, and we're happy to provide training if people are looking for that, and we're looking at a winter sessions. For workshops and training, our regular is an annual septic contractors meeting, which we actually move around the watershed, down to the different municipalities, and hopefully we'll be doing one here soon, if not next year. We also have an annual municipal day, which councilors and members of council can attend, and that's where you can learn a lot about South Nation programs generally. It's very, very popular. We've been hosting that event for many, many years. And we also do train and license people in the building code. So that's something we try to get as well. We're the only certified bilingual training agency. So we get about 7 or 8 people in our office every year to do install. Moving to quickly the drinking water source protection and some of the synergy between this program and our risk management office. So South Nation is actually the risk management office for Cardinal as well. We look after the sources of municipal drinking water and work closely with your staff. We had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago where your chief water operator was there, and we were talking about different threats and potential impacts to the intakes as well as the well in Spencerville. Our septic staff are trained in drinking water source protection, so they're able to make sure that permits are issued in the air. They're also very knowledgeable about rural water sources and protecting those as well. The other thing that we try to make sure is supportive and responsive is our enforcement. This can be a big thing when we have an issue on a property. We get complaints. Our regulations officers and our septic officials are highly trained in conflict management, negotiation, and just generally being able to see what's going on the property. It's called bylaw. We're very qualified and experienced. We respond to a lot of calls from the public, and I think what's nice is we just add another layer of support for municipal staff if needed on difficult files. So we do have also access to legal and engineering advice through our office. Just by having such a large amount of clients, we have a lot of experience with a lot of these, we call them spicy issues. So the last couple slides are just about the education outreach material we have. We have great programs and campaigns that we've developed through fundraising and external revenue sources. So we have great materials that we sort of print on demand as needed and run. So Septic Smart is a really popular one. Septic Solution. We also do pump out campaigns and stuff like that. So quite a few different materials are already prepared and again done through other grants and partnerships in the past. The last one, we can do a specific campaign if needed. Septic Smart is a great one. It's really about protecting investments. So this last one is the big summary of really the takeaways we wanted you to get today. We really want to support the affordable housing objectives that the province has set, and we recognize this extremely pressing need in every single community, and that rural housing is really a big part of that movement. And also that we have to be a little bit open-minded with solutions and try to put our minds into what else we can do. And so I know there's some cool things happening in Frontenac County and communal servicing, etc. We're very well versed in secondary dwellings and working with people on those kinds of things, the in-law suites, coach houses, tiny homes. We have a lot of experience with that up in Clarence Rockland and Upper Kootenay area. We did join the Voluntary Ontario Task Force for timely review, and this is something we did 2 years ago. We sat as members of that committee as how to improve timelines and issue our approvals faster. So we are proud of the construction timeline we've been able to accomplish. We have accessible program with free resources, highly qualified team. We're recognized as an Ontario training center for party to building code. We put a lot of value add services on the table for all the different staff that are employed at South Nation. We're accessible to people who call. We do a lot with Wendy and helping out any files wherever we can. We have annual training, staff presence at the municipality, which can be increased if needed and on demand. And we really do try to streamline our permits. So if someone needs multiple approvals, we make sure they get them. So that's how long is that?
I shut it off and no, you were going to be you were at 12, maybe 13 minutes.
Okay.
You were not wasting time, and it's all important. So no, it was fantastic.
Okay, great.
Good.
We'd love to hear any feedback you have, and we're here to, make it better if we can.
Yeah, and I think, let's open it to the group. I think I'll start at our former South Nation representative. Mr. Hunter, I think he would have a lot of experience with this, and not only with the former health unit too, so. I'll start with you for questions.
Well, I think it's, to give credit, I think they did a great job of taking over big territory that we jumped into, and I think maybe bigger than you actually estimated at first. The work that's going to begin. Being on the board when we kind of talked into doing this, and now that I've actually dealt with it and building a house of my own and doing it, I think for a new system it went pretty well. I couldn't say that I had any drastic complaints with dealing with the inspectors and stuff, and dealing with the need them going through. The timelines were very good. They got around quickly. The only thing if I have any criticism at all was when we were doing our permit and shooting our levels and one thing another. Both myself and my installer. I don't say I'm opposed to it, but I think it's very difficult when you ask to get a permit that you want a final grade line shot when the house hasn't even been built. Yeah, and the engineers are coming in. That's something that I think maybe needs to be looked at. The thing how fixed in stone that is that you got to get. I think something in an estimated final grade line or something there, because that's very difficult to do when you're building up and putting the basement in and one thing and another. You can design as well as you want, but when you dig down, you decide the water table's at 5 feet, you find out the water table's at 4 feet, you have to come up, you're already something applied to set a grade line, final grade line, and then of course you know yourself when inspectors come in, there's water there, they want more sand brought up and stuff. So that was the only thing I kind of wondered about the permit. The other thing I did have a little problem with, we did the permit ourselves and we sent it in, and we had 3 different columns. First, one grade line set, so we did that, sent that back in, and then the next day we needed another one. I would encourage that the ones reviewing the things go through the full 13 pages instead of calling and saying we need this, and we come out and shoot grade, and then 2 days later, well, no, you need this. I think it should be. We ended up making 4 trips to the site to shoot different grades and stuff. We're not saying that we weren't wrong, maybe what the grades were, but just they could have all been done in one step. Like that was the only trouble I had at all as far as inspection and stuff. Once we started putting it in, the inspectors were always there. All the night before, the next day they're there. I think the timeline was great, way better than Leeds and Gremlin was, because we dealt with them 2 or 3 times, and sometimes we did 2 or 3 days, and 2 or 3 days for them to get there. And I know that they were in the process that they really didn't want to do it. But we're both my installer and myself very impressed with the timelines for getting there to do the inspection. Like we got everything straight away, but step by step, it was no problem to get the right off the bat. And the layout started working with yourself and the date and stuff for getting on a lot of and stuff. Couldn't be better to work with a group of people that did it right and stuff. They're 100% and as I said, supportive and trying to get it going. So
good. Comment back on anything that
It's not the
Concerns or-
details, I may follow up with you around this, we need to clarify, but it's nice to hear, it's almost like having a hidden boss or whatever, they can give you kind of good feedback, so I do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's good that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, anything?
Yeah, you're already gonna have to take advantage of the fact that I let you have a lot of questions about you. So we're, as a township, we're sitting on sort of the precipice of excitement, fear, maybe a little bit of both of, you know, I like to call it a common sense revolution where, you know, people are starting to move out of the cities and come south essentially, and we see it coming. And we're, you know, obviously it's a trick to manage it, but, you know, we start to see conversations, a lot of, especially with the housing crisis that's ongoing now. And one of the things that's come up recently and has triggered my ear a little bit, and I start to wonder a little bit about it is, you know, whether you have somebody on staff already who is already familiar with, or if there's a plan to get somebody familiar with, or even if it maybe doesn't involve SNC, but I'm pretty sure it does. But you know, looking into some of these large scale rural water septic systems, if you will, that are out there, so. Yeah, it's very good. I thought it was very cool as well. I just don't know what that looks like right now with SNC, or what that could look like,
It's
or.
the stuff that is talking about county Frontenac and which the former planner that's so Frontenac, they called it a tour of New Terra, I don't know if you've been to New Terra, I've done a tour of New Terra. Very interested in how that can potentially increase the density, allow better use of land. I think they are right in their backyard, being crazy not looking at that. We wouldn't approve it on part 8, but we're very interested just generally as an agency that's working in rural development to help promote it. Actually got asked to sit on a working group or sometimes, but you're right, it's planners, sometimes we take a long time to figure things out. And I'll fully admit that I've been working in the field for 12 years. I think it's time for common sense revolution to get some housing built, so this exists, Quincy Woods is doing it, there's different municipalities all around Ontario that are starting to try it, great, let them try it for a few years, Aqua's been operating a few, and I've heard feedback on that, so. Yeah, we're very looped into it, we're very excited about it, we don't have a direct role in it, but, we're knowledgeable, we have the type of people that should be involved in the conversations, so.
Most of those systems are, so our limit is at 10,000 liters per day. So most of those systems will be above, under that comes into the building code, and over that is for those systems that goes to the ministry.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
So, hold on, I just, so, I mean, we're speaking of Frontenac, I've been through a presentation with Frontenac. Their limit's over 10,000, so they don't deal with you, then they would deal with province for that.
If you wanna build one of those systems, it's.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it's an ECA through the front.
It's an EC.
And New Terra is like, I don't work for them, I promise they're not paying me, but I was pretty impressed when they did the tour. They take care of that.
Yeah.
Permitting stuff.
The CAO from that Nancy was on the New Terra tour with me, he's been very knowledgeable out there.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't
No,
know.
no,
Just-
It's spread out of the, you know, it's attached, actually, paper maintenance.
Yeah, it's smart.
And it's, you know, like I said, I was very excited when we looked at that during the recent housing, affordable housing summit, so. Yep, I do have one. So the other one that comes to mind is I know we talked a bit about how you do septic approvals for ARUs, if you will.
Yeah.
What's that process? I mean, very briefly, is it just like, what's the process look like as far as complexity goes?
If they're having for 2 units on the lot share.
Yeah.
It sometimes it's like a renovation review, so just making sure that the additional fixtures either can be accommodated by the tank and the bed, or if something needs to be increased or upgraded or changed. Sometimes that results in a new system permit, so we go through the permit process. But some people already have the system large enough for what we're trying to do. Each one's a little different, so it's either just gonna be a quick sort of recheck, good to go, or no, you gotta put a new tank and it's kind of the state. Yeah, it's not a big deal to share, it's really about making sure the service is safe. You obviously don't want people, there are some situations that evolve from past and not big deal and you're so we want lots of units, we want them to be safe, and we want people to make a good investment that, you know, they can sell in the future.
Thank you. Well, we got 2 answers to my accident.
Deputy Mayor, you go.
Yeah, I just have a couple. One, you're saying that you're looking for any input. I'm just wondering, you guys are spread pretty thin with 4. And we're covering 4 municipalities in Leeds and Grimble. You are, and I'm just wondering, is it something that we can do as a township or Augusta, Elizabeth Kitley? Collaborating with maybe giving you an office space for one of your inspectors or whatever we can do to. To help these out.
Yeah, they've offered, I guess, but they've both offered that to us. We have taken them up a few times, but I think we could be more present in the municipal office. Our people don't have an issue driving down. I mean, they do all their calls and stuff on their drives, which is super efficient at the time. So we haven't had an issue having someone here in these grand all the whole time. It's been nice. So but yes, we really appreciate the offer. It was actually extended by the CAOs and we'll take you up.
Good.
Yeah.
I should add, they're actually not in our office very often either. It's so much.
No, really. Yeah.
You know.
Right, and I did do a little homework with your presentation, so I went to 2 of our biggest installers that does it in our township. And both of them, you know, I just said, hey, I'm having a conversation with you guys tonight. And first they had some hiccups, they said, as we all know, growing pains and et cetera. And now they said it's very, very good to work with you, and you know. The one fellow thought it was a little bit of red tape more, but now he's understanding why. So that's good to know.
And that's only been in a year.
Exactly, and he understands it, and he hired a designer, actually, he doesn't even design his own anymore.
Yeah.
Because he found it's a lot easier, takes him about 3 to 4 hours away from his life.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, the designer, that's what he does every day, so kudos to you guys. Like I said, the 2 that it does probably 60–70% of our
That's
work in the
super.
township. Are very, very impressed. So thank you.
For that.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I have no questions. Great presentation. I would like to ask some questions about this one failed septic system, but we'll leave that for another day.
They do happen, and they have to know. It's already fixed. Not a secret, there's something failing. For one budget.
It's got some dragonflies flying around your lawn and you're like, oh.
Figure out the country, let's.
Karen, do you have any?
I have nothing, no, it looks like a fantastic program, it's very.
It was certainly a large change for us going from the health unit and, you know, knowing the certainty of what it was. You know, one of the mandates of this council is to try to shrink our lot size.
Okay.
You know, we're making every effort to do that, and I know in the past, we always, you know, we were at 2.47 acres.
Yeah.
And anything that went smaller than that, it needed a septic approval. And so our goal, I think, ultimately is to have rural severances of an acre. And you know, do you have any feedback on that? Like,
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about the amendments that you're looking at. And one thing I'll admit is a lot of my experience has been out with this CMG Russell, and I know that the groundwater and the geological rate is a little different. But so that caveat aside, yeah, that is sort of the side we see commonly through the rest of the watershed. There are different policies, and I sent it to you actually off to your planning staff from so that will pass in the last year or so as a up-to-date wording. So there's things to support that. And as long as it doesn't have, they call it hydrogeological basis, I'm trying not to correct it, but as long as it doesn't have the big soil that can be difficult for servicing, you just want to make sure they're going to have good well, and that their septic system can properly attenuate out. Because the risk if you don't is that it actually severely impacts children, small children, and potentially kill a baby. So that's our big, we want to make sure that nitrate doesn't get in the well. And as long as you can accomplish that, there's lots of ways to do it. It's totally viable. And just have to be informed by good planning.
yeah, and I know in the I think I'm going on 8 years now that I've been here, any of the ones that we've seen with the health unit found a way to make sure that they could get accommodated. So it makes sense on my part, but I just want to, you know, while you're here and on record, it's nice to understand if there's you know, any comments about that.
And we fly that free. That's part of that free service that comes with your septic program. I understand your free book, and I'll say we probably should have a scaled septic plan. maybe there's an easement, maybe there's a weird lot configuration, maybe the road's weird, like every lot is literally different. It's insane after this many years, of doing the job, that every call is different. So we have a good eye for that stuff, and we'll say you should probably get them to do a plan, because if they're picturing a house this big with a pool and all these things, they might be fake. You might just wanna let them know that they're gonna think this is what you can build on this lot.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's not doable, and we do need maybe to scale down sometimes what we're building, so we can achieve these goals.
Yeah. I think that that's exactly what we're thinking as well. And I did have one more final question, and it's on the education and outreach, and you mentioned often doing campaigns.
Yes.
So of course, I think, recognizing, I think through all years, I saw Miller's, Elmer's, Easton, and Ken Beck included in all of the pictures. Johnstown, there's issues with septic here, and there's issues, I think, everywhere with septic in the township, and I think education outreach is really important. So not having seen a lot of that, how do we actually get an active campaign so that we can communicate that with our septic owners?
We could probably work through your CAO and show them some maybe materials we have, and you could select the ones you think might be appropriate, and then we just like costing and printing and mailing and whatnot, or we've done door hangers and sometimes, but we could work through your staff and figure out what would best fit your needs. So it's just starting that conversation between us and your staff. And everything's already designed, which is
Right.
Okay. So for sure, yeah, depends what you're dealing with, if you're trying to get people to do pump outs, if you want people to make change, or depends what you want people to do.
Yeah, I think, number one for me would probably be just proper maintenance, but,
Yeah.
just on.
I'd say this whenever I feel like someone would be receptive to hearing it, and I live in a municipality where we have to have our tank pumps every 2 years. Let's think of that. So as part of the municipal bylaw, model bylaw from the province, we have to have pumps, and I've never heard of anyone in my town having tank use.
2 years, and I think if I read everything right, ours is 5 years for inspection and pump out, right?
That's really recommended.
Right.
Yeah, we have some really quick, it was all developed through source water protection money back in the province years ago, so we can do a refresh on that. You can even do it targeted, it depends what you want. But
Okay, so there's something we can discuss with staff and then approach after.
Yeah.
Awesome, great, thank you for being here again tonight and the great work that South Nation does. You certainly, we hear the word red tape a lot. I know the province, took a bit of a stand on conservation authorities earlier in the year. We supported, the good work that you do. You certainly don't layer red tape and make things difficult. I think that you actually reduce it and help along with it. And I know your letters of that you provide to help get building done faster and with less reports, not with more. So I want to thank you both for the work that you do.
really.
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
It feels nice to be here.
No, it's good. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, moving on to 5B, potential renewables, and Will, you're by yourself, right?
Yeah.
All right, come on up. Will, same deal, 10 minutes. If Dave manages to get you started. Hey, look at you go. You're lightning.
Versatile.
I don't know, he's gonna take on that clerk's role, like it's just. It's like CAO / clerk. Good night. Night. Whenever you're ready, go ahead, Will.
Everyone, I'm Will. Good to be here in person this time. I think we've been last time we did it virtually, so most people are face to face. I'm a senior manager here at Potential, and I lead our development efforts. I'm here today talking about a project called Sky 2S project. And it's a large utility scale energy storage project that will look to store energy from the grid during the context of peak demand or peak availability and discharge. We kind of touched on this a little bit before, but I think we want to do it quickly, not to give too much of 10 minutes. Our team is experience in Ontario Our executives alone have to account for 30% of the renewable energy projects that are operating in Ontario. So you're working with a team that has a lot of experience and deep roots in Ontario. In terms of capitalization, we invest through an investment fund. It's about a $1.7 billion investment fund right now. That's an equity investment fund. We spent about $1 billion on it already. Some more wind projects that we are getting in Europe, mainly Alberta. But we're really keen to figure out how to deploy this capital and invest in areas that we think are suitable. Our efforts to date at Potentia are really focusing on capital. So we're a Canadian invest in company, and we invest, really at any opportunity that we can. We're technology agnostic, whether it is through solar, wind, potentially power to a lesser extent, we do on islands, and our energy storage. We do not have any operating energy storage projects right now. We have building in Texas right now. They are kind of on the precipice of construction, if not on construction. Right. Those projects, for reference, are each 10 megawatts, 50 megawatts, the 5-hour duration projects. We're also exploring some new energy storage opportunities in Alberta. Our operating. Our VP of operation has operated energy storage projects in Ontario before. Those are multiple projects, but he's operated 2 of them with a few other people from our operations team in tandem with several other projects in the Europe. Generally, you're seeing needs grow across Canada right now for energy. You're seeing electricity needs for energy sources, and you're seeing capacity needs. But that these energy storage projects are looking for. So we are active in almost every market that comes here right now to support energy growth and to meet our kind of really needs collectively. I mentioned a capacity need because this is what these projects look to. There are times of the grid that the grid operator, the independent electricity system operator, believes in the late 2020s, there will be moments on the grid where there won't get enough energy to meet the demands of our consumers, the demands of the industry. The only way to mitigate that is to bring on new resources or curtail which is which is not acceptable option for consumers of electricity or investment industry. So because of this, the ISO, the independent electricity system operator, is running competitive procurements to force new capacity products to support this peak time in the first RFP was called an expedited long-term reliability process, and that procured about 1,500 megawatts of capacity resources. So those are a combination of GMS, and those are a combination of energy storage projects. In the EL2-1 process, some large projects were awarded. There was a 300 megawatt project awarded, a 250 megawatt project awarded, and even before that, there was 250 megawatt project awarded Ontario still has immense needs for capacity, which is why the Ontario grid operator is running the second phase of this procurement called LT1 or long-term reliability. This comes about a year after the last bid was due, and it's for 2,500 megawatts or so of energy capacity. We expect about 900 megawatts of that would be awarded to gas projects that the USO is requiring, and about 1,600 megawatts for energy storage. The general schedule of this bid that we are looking to participate for and bid into this RFP. The general bid schedule this bid is we are looking to the bids are due in December 10th or December 12th, And then on May 10, the ISO is looking to tell us who is awarded in this. After that, you know, there's a lot of permitting process that needs to take place and detailed designs that but really after you get those civil award, a lot of these projects have taken their little diligence to as much as they can over the last few months, and if you're ready for this bid. But we want detailed designs then.
Well, can I stop you just for a second?
Yep.
A lot of what we're hearing is repetitive. Can we speak specifically to the Dobie Road site? Can I move you ahead to that so that just so that we don't waste your entire 10 minutes on the background, that we actually get to talk about the site and get a full disclosure on the site? Okay, let's just go to that. Sorry.
So going to this capacity need, we're focusing on this region of Hillsborough Cardinal. The main reason for that is because the ISO explicitly identified the need here. After looking at what we look, if we look to try to find lands that are not used for prime agricultural lands, that lands that have large setbacks from residences, and that's close in proximity to existing transmission. And that has, you know, minimal impacts to the environment. This is the site that we selected right now for the diving project. It's a 450 megawatt project. It's a setback 1.1 kilometers. It's set back 1.1 kilometers from Dobie Road, and it's about 900 meters to the closest house that's not owned by a land. It's about 700 meters to the house that's owned by. There's going to be a new transmission line that would need to be built from the project site area, which is again set back to a kilometer or so, and so developing a kilometer long transmission line that will connect to the existing lines that go this west.
That's the yellow line that ends in the X.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of access, we don't have a defined access point right now for the project. It seems like the likely will be from Dobie Road, up an existing farm road that we would look to upgrade to suit the project, and we will be maintaining that road and paying for that upgrade. There is an undeveloped road to the back of the project that we can talk about as well, but right now we assume it's from Dobie. You'll notice just on the screen that this looks forested. It is not forested. Right now, the extent of a red line is has been cleared already and is currently used for agriculture. The prime agriculture lands and just work on this project. So this is located along the road. We held an open house last week, and these are some of the things that we heard from the open house. We had about 20 people in attendance. There was interest really about recycling. Right when we started the open house, we actually had someone come in, just was at the hockey rink and someone came by and poked his head in and was asking about the project, and he worked at another battery recycling plant already. So he was just kind of on the project and saying that currently he does this. This was kind of an interesting tidbit that's happening around the community a little. Just to kind of dive into it, I feel like the main concern that we heard from people was about fire. Generally, the community I don't know what else speaks for the community, but from the comments I heard, people are generally seem to be supportive of citing this project on class 4 plus schools and having large setbacks. They generally like that, but they were just concerned about fire and wanting to make sure that that was a safe setup. Fire risks come up with energy storage projects frequently, and these projects are going to comply with international standards. The main one that we feel like should provide a lot of comfort is UL 9540A. It's a test method that you have to demonstrate that if there is a fire that happens within a container, it doesn't escape from that container. And these are going to be reports that we're going to do before construction and we can make them available, people, the fire chief and to the public. Make sure that we're comfortable with. We may come back to this if there's questions with the fire, the mic. In terms of community benefit, this project has significant tax revenue from it. It is a very expensive project to build, about a $750 million project, and in that range of costs, it depends on the final size, and there's a lot of things that go into it. And in terms of long-term tax revenue, you know, that's almost like $250,000 from a property tax perspective in year one. I don't know the exact breakdown of how that works with the provincial and municipal side of things, but in terms of providing just a number to help understand the benefit and what this project brings. Repairing roads, I never say is like this is not sometimes effective use of tax dollars, but we drive on a clean road.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Happy about it.
And really, like, there's some local employment, there's probably 250 people in construction, a handful of people in operations, mainly for maintenance, nothing major, mostly. We'll also establish a community benefit fund that, this is supposed to be the exciting thing that really supports, the local community. Yes, there's property taxes, and that's going to support the roads and other infrastructure. But community benefit fund is something that we want to be super flexible with. Work with the township on how we again, just to cut into it, I feel like the amount of a community benefit fund will depend on the size of the project. And what we've seen across many other competitive projects, there's kind of this range of different proponents are providing for community benefits. And where we feel like the community benefits, what we're proposing for our project is $500 per meg. So at a 450, so for a 450,000 or a 450 megawatt project, that would be $225,000 for its lifespan. And so that would be on the contract capacity throughout the ISO contract. And that would escalate at the same rate as the contract with this. So why these, apart from consultation, we are talking to communities and making sure that the council, we want to answer a lot of those questions to try to receive municipal support for these projects. The municipal support has a significant impact on whether this project will move forward or whether it won't move forward. And this is kind of the reason why I'm not press criteria. Non-price criteria is 30% of the project of your value, and local government support is four of those 10 points. So it's honestly very simple. I'd be happy to kind of ask, I kind of answer any questions that the council has. But yeah, today we're looking to receive municipal support and ask for that from the project. But of course, we want to make sure that all the questions are really answered.
Good, thanks, Will. I'm gonna go first. And I usually don't, but there's just one that I've been on that exact last point you made. There's 4 points for municipal and 3 and 3. Is there any Indigenous input or collaboration on this project at all?
Yeah.
Okay, and how does you have their support already?
We have not. It's kind of private at that point, but we have multiple conversations happening now with First Nation partners. We're very confident in helping execute this project.
Okay. And when it comes to the CBF, like, do you negotiate? So the CBF, I believe, at least the way that I understand it, are we sharing the CBF with Indigenous partners, or are you working out a separate? Completely separate agreement with them?
They're completely separate.
Okay.
This is completely with for a car.
Okay. Okay, now let's open it up to the group then for questions. I'm gonna go by showing of hands so that we can move a little faster, because that way if anybody doesn't, we won't go. So who wants to go? Anyone?
I'll go. I just have one, it's always my favorite, community benefit fund. I didn't really understand what the $250,000. Can you? Is that $250,000 per year? Or is that 250,000 of the? 250,000 is the max we're gonna get from this? Or per
So
year?
every year, we fund the community benefit fund. And it's $500 per megawatt hour contract.
Okay,
So
so,
we haven't established the final contract for custody. So let's say it's 400 megawatts.
right,
That's 200.
right,
And that's every year.
right.
It's every 20.
Yeah, that's fine. No, of course, we can negotiate that too. We gotta accept, we're gonna support you, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, for these projects, we build up our knowledge rate.
Okay.
And so that's why it's important,
No, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah.
Further questions? That end? Nothing?
No, I think I'm good. The only thing I had was, I know everybody's concerned about fire. So this is remotely monitored. Nobody on site at all. It's just remotely monitored 24/7.
It is completely remotely monitored. We expect to have people on.
Okay.
They'll all be blind.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, so obviously, we've had a lot of these conversations, so I think we've got, I think I've asked enough of the fire question. I think we've got the understanding of that situation there. If you talked a bit about the shortage of potential power issues, brownouts and stuff like California sees in Ontario. So I'm assuming it's probably a much easier, much easier aspect if down the road, all of a sudden we need more storage capacity that's easily scalable because we'll have the infrastructure there already. It's just adding more batteries, or is it more complicated than that?
It is a little bit more complicated than that, mainly because it depends on your grid connection. So if you have to restudy your grid connection and potentially build out your grid connection again. Sometimes there's benefits to having existing infrastructure.
So, and just to confirm, I think you basically highlighted that we have to have the staff take a look at it, but it would be 225 in CBF plus another $250,000 so in property tax increase. That's what I understood from your conversation.
Our property tax is going to be significant. Yeah, it's probably significantly higher than that. I was going to say, probably close to 750,000. I don't know that people are going down that it gets into this.
But 50. Okay, I think that's all I had. Unless you ask you.
I've got a couple. I'm gonna ask, but do you have anything, Alvin?
One major concern I have always battery storage projects that they're basically draw a surplus power in the evening when they're in store for peak production. In shutting down in 26 and most production plants, I know about some of them, they're starting to adjust their peak flow to try to use more in the evenings and not as much in the daytime. Where is the surplus power going to come from this? As our demand for energy keeps growing, where are these battery storage? Where are you going to get energy to store? We're at peak consumption all the time. Like, are these not going to become redundant someplace along the line here? There isn't enough surplus power to win. Like, I don't know where the province is heading with all this storage. I can see it when we're dumping power in the evenings, but with the projected use of power for electric cars, everybody's going to charge their cars at night and everything. I'm kind of wondering how feasible these are. You're going to put all this money into it. How feasible are they going to be in 2030?
I think it's natural that the grid changes over time. Sometimes it's going to be right now the peak is around there, and sometimes that might change in the future. You're totally right. These resources are really flexible. So the boat kind of shifting pretty much all the time, it's never just gonna be flat. So the boat shifting when it's less, it's just when it's more. And maybe that difference changes over time, maybe it's not as pronounced. But that's really what we do. And Ontario does when you do energy sources. Which I think is a good question. Like, Ontario is currently going to be running another procurement after this called long-term reliability 2. And that's just for what we've heard is that's for energy. So Ontario is very aware that they need to build out a lot of aspects of their grid, but the capacity from an energy and from an infrastructure. So they're trying to do all of it.
I think they've identified it more as a storage issue, right? They can't provide enough capacity, or they can produce it enough, just don't have the ability to store it on the offload. So I think this helps during the downtime. But I think you make a good point, because a lot of people do use that or switching to that nighttime use where it's actually more affordable. Instead of having totally. Did you have another question?
Well, you just sort of made me, and I can't remember if I heard this from the previous thing, or I do a little bit of watching videos stuff on YouTube about, like energy, for instance. And I kind of got the feeling as well that even if we don't generate it ourselves, that our neighbors, New York and Quebec, do have times when they have to dump power as well. Because they had excess capacity, and I think we can then buy it cheaper than we buy it today and store it. Is that true to that statement, or is that that was my understanding, it was from something.
Ontario just increased it kind of extended some of their contract with for this, for really that reason, make sure they have energy and capacity kind of on the line. But Ontario kind of develop their own energy source, right? They don't want to rely on provincial partners to for your energy security.
Okay, I have a couple, and not to create a competition, but the base load has been here. Base load informed us that their megawatt per hour, I'm not saying anything that wasn't said in an open discussion, of $1,000 per megawatt. So it's double what the potential for CDF is for you. I know it's only based off of a potential of 350 megawatt, but it is double of the CDF. So the second thing that we were willing to, I think we put our support as a group forward to support baseload. I haven't really heard any reasonable opposition to this, and I think that we're probably going to go, or at least I am going to go the same route with this. But the other concern, or the other thing that we asked for with that was a full disclosure of what exactly the CBF would be, and a letter accompanying the initial municipal support. So I think we would expect that, if we were to support the potential bid as well. Okay.
Yeah, we go over that.
Yeah. So my questions. Okay, so the only and the biggest question that I have, well, maybe I have two. One's just for record again. So just so everyone's clear on this is a BESS project. So there's no solar farm going in, and there's no wind farm going in. All we're talking about are batteries on a very small, 30-acre piece of land, correct?
That's correct.
We're not approving another solar farm or a field of solar panels, or we're not approving any wind turbines. That's correct. We're buying from the grid, storing it, and selling it back.
Yes.
Okay, there's no potential of this turning into a solar project or a wind project.
This is all separate.
It's all BESS.
All this conversation is specific to an energy storage project.
Okay, I just wanted on that recorded that that's what has been said. And my only other question, I talked to you ahead of the meeting about this, and my concern is we're in Eastern Ontario. A lot of the development when it comes to manufacturing, whether that's cars or the EV revolution that's coming to Ontario, seems to be coming to the GTA and a little bit to the west of the GTA. Unfortunately, due to lack of energy, we have missed out on some of those projects, and we continue to hold discussions with IESO and Enbridge, even as well for gas constraints. So, by putting and locating some of these best sites in Eastern Ontario, will it help increase the capacity for Eastern Ontario? Or are we just helping Western?
No, this will help Eastern Ontario. This is going to help Eastern Ontario. There's different energy points in the grid. One of them is west of Toronto. It's called the East of that, and that is one of the main constraining nodes in Ontario's grid. So they're really looking for resources in Eastern Ontario to meet Eastern Ontario's needs.
Right. Yeah, because it's, you know, we have had lots of discussions in our township and in neighboring townships with you know, potential investments that have the ability to change the entire region. And unfortunately, because of lack of gas and readily available energy, we've missed out on some. And I see this, as long as it's going to provide to Eastern Ontario, as having the potential to help with some of those missed opportunities and to make sure that we, not just Western Ontario, succeed. So I see this as and for that's one of the reasons I see this as a great opportunity. So I think though, we as a municipality likely have an interest when it comes to, and I know we've talked about fire, I know we've talked about fire suppression systems, but ultimately if there is something to happen, you know, the chief sitting at the table is, and the volunteers that work, you know, for the municipality are going to be the ones that have to deal, you know, with the issue. And I know that you work out that fire plan probably, you know, after the approval stage, and you work it out with, you know, to the satisfaction of the township. But I'm wondering what the potential impacts are to the municipality in terms of, you know, cost, that sort of thing, if there was, you know, say a fire, and what we would, you know, do we have the resources? Maybe it's a question that the chief can sort of partially answer, or maybe he can ask a question from the fire department standpoint as to whether or not we can handle this if there is an issue.
I take the first crack. So it will really depend on what the agreed on emergency response plan is. Right now, I had a chance to go through our kind of our boilerplate emergency response plan with the fire group. Use our workers. So we had a chance to speak through some of those. We didn't go through detail of the house, but we did have a chance to go through those. And right now, the requirements from the fire department are very low for how you respond to the fires. We would expect them to secure the perimeter of the site, and effectively, these containers are designed to contain the West one, the other demonstrate, right, before we even build it. So the whole point of going to use process is to make sure great, it's not going to be a container. You guys are saying it's not going to be everything. You know, you have this test. We're not going to prevent anyone at risk from the fire department to go and do it in a safe situation. But we are having to make sure that we have really clear understanding in the fire department, really clear understanding of our emergency response. I know there's a local fire department, a lot of our volunteers. So making sure that everyone in the crew has an understanding of what happens in emergency is really important. Because we might do training 1 year and there could be more people in one different. So just keeping that we own our sites and we operate. So we have the best interest in making sure that they are using properly. It's not both constantly. So we want to make sure that.
Chief, did you want to speak to or add or make any comment at all? Any concerns?
Jared, I believe pretty well. I mean, it's designed to contain fire. The thing on battery fire, you're not going to extinguish anyway, so it's going to be probably a very slow process and probably a lot of monitoring as well.
Do you see any? Do you perceive any, or one of our experts? Do you perceive any issue with the best programs?
Without rather not comment without stating like their condition monitoring program and all those kinds of things that would happen to seeing if the program moves forward. There's nothing really alarming at this point.
Okay. So no reason for us to not give support or not to move on. Okay. Okay. Any final second questions, anyone? No. Okay, so do we see this later on? Are we looking for support?
Yes, you do.
Second.
Saturday.
And in 7B, without going to that discussion yet, my concern, and I think the CBF is fantastic. My concern is that, you know, we do have somebody that's offering double that. Is there any reference to the CBF in 7? Do we know?
Saturday, I don't believe so.
So it would just be come in the letter of support. So I guess my last question to you then is that number, you know, I know when we talked to base load, they were saying that everyone was trying to keep the number relatively the same. I'm a little surprised that it's half of what base loads was.
There are projects that are giving $100 when they go up. So there's a project that's in 25,000 for a 250 project. So we're trying to balance, we just want to maintain competitiveness. And this good thing about this project is it's very large. And so we kind of get to a large benefit. It's, I hear you. And we definitely want to make sure this is fair. The community represents some of the impacts, so making sure that this fund is there to support it. We also still want to make sure this project happens. And we don't want to overburden the project at this stage.
Fair. I think that's fair. And ultimately, I know what we're giving at this point is our initial support. I know that we can revisit that number again, should you win the potential to host a facility in our township, and I hope that that happens. With no further questions. Okay, you'd be okay with the letter though for the CBF, right? Yes. Good, thanks, Will. Thank you. All right, where are we? 6. Okay, so, all right, so 666, so not 666, that'd be bad. Consent agenda, so items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require further discussion or enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that a member may request that one or more of the items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. So just going through the list really quick. Does anyone have anything that is on the consent agenda that they want removed for further discussion tonight? Hearing nothing. Oh, we're good. Okay, so, and there's only the 2, right? Yeah, can I qualify? All right, so this, it's me that reads the recommendation, I move in second, right? So, the recommendation that the following consent agenda items be received and presented, which is A, the third quarter fire report, and B, the third quarter operations report. I need a mover. So moved. And so moved, seconded, discussion. I guess we can't have discussion on this one. It's consent agenda. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, yeah, let's move on. 7 is discussion items, the future of natural gas expansion and the discussion paper that has been presented. CEO, do you want to speak to that?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, our focus has been sort of on theme 4, and those were the questions that you're looking for responses on. So we started the response and just opening it up for discussion amongst the committee members to see if there's areas that we want to expand on, areas that they want to be moved from those initial responses, and just looking to gather a little bit more information before the December submission timeline.
And I guess I'll speak to it quickly as well. And I know at Roma, I believe the deputy mayor, yourself and myself, we all spoke to Energy Minister Todd Smith about, you know, this exact issue, right? The expansion of it. I know this seems to be focused more maybe on, or at least the feeling of this seems to be focused more on industrial than, and I know it says home, but it feels like it's a little more of an industrial feel than it does a home feel. I know ours in that first submission was related to in conjunction with Augusta to fill the gaps along their Highway 2 and out towards Augusta and Spencerville, right? Those process. So we have made a presentation to Minister Smith. I know Mayor Shaver and I at AMO in August, due to the port securing the grant for the $2 million for the grain dryer project. We certainly brought that forward. It was to Parliamentary Assistant Trevor Jones instead of Minister Smith, and it was same theme, right? We reiterated the need to fill the gaps that we already have for home heating. It's, you know, the most affordable cost. Anywhere between 75% and 81%, I think, of the province use natural gas to heat their homes. Having that in our townships fantastic, and we've certainly presented to the province on this point, but more importantly, to support, you know, I think what 1,200 farms with the need for that natural gas expansion port. We still haven't gotten where we need to get that gas, that amount of gas to that, and this project looks like it wants to fill the holes that are there. So I guess that's my little input into this as well. It's been on our radar. We've made presentations regarding this, and I guess it is open for further discussion. And I'll ask for anyone who would like to speak to 1, 2, 3, or 4, and if you have any comments they feel need to be added. So, anyone?
No, just to echo your thoughts. So I did find that, you know, theme 4, you know, we don't. I don't think we're putting enough about the residential side of this. So that first question, for instance, I know we said, you know, and provide the opportunity for lower energy costs too, but I don't know. I feel like we should also really call out a little more strongly about the residential aspect. That would be my take.
I personally think too that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of talk on switching to heat pumps, but we're hearing, you know, from people like Will and all the best projects about we don't have enough electricity, but yet we're trying to switch to heat pumps, and we have readily available gas. We just need to run the pipes and actually expand it out. It's cheaper, it's efficient, and it's a heck of a lot more efficient than a lot of what people are using, you know, propane and other heat oil and other heat sources. It is such a fantastic alternative as we move towards potentially electrifying everything, but this seems to be a good gap filler in the process. So I struggle to think that we're not going to continue to pursue the line expansion. It's really important, really vital to this area. I really think, you know, from an agricultural perspective, you know, cutting the cost to farmers that you know may use propane, or I think propane is probably the only other option to do their own grain drying if they are drying their own. But if this somehow is connected to any of those homes that have the potential to dry some of their own grain, it would cut their costs immensely to have that opportunity to do it as well. And we know we're certainly not going to do it with electricity. So I think that's probably my only 2 cents.
Well, you can't bank on, you know, now that I've gone and spent a bunch of money on my own, you can't bank on every other you know, electrical heat pump system is going to be free for everybody in Canada. Even though that's kind of what you're saying. But you know, you can't bank on it anyways, so we need something.
Well, there's another discussion, and that's the carbon tax too, but that's the continued increase in it as well, especially when it relates to, you know, our own grain drying at the port and of any farmer that's doing. It's one thing to have it on families and the impact to have it on families that have to heat their home. But it's another to talk about agricultural uses that have to pay that carbon tax as well, so. Further, anyone? John, did you?
So, right there. Push for natural gas expansion, but eastern Ontario, like. Gonna get the, they might get it. 10 years in some of the villages and stuff. 80% of our residents are living in Brooklyn, and I don't think we ever have much shifts. We started to run natural gas lines up and down all our routes, so.
It's gonna fill in some of the gaps, I think, that are there. You've made that presentation that we made, before I think you guys went out and knocked doors to engage interest. I don't know if that can be included with this submission, but I think that all of that information that we used in both the Roma package and the AMO package is relevant to either theme 1, 2, 3, or 4. I think it fills in a lot of those gaps, and that information can be used. We've certainly used it to further ourselves in the discussions. I know John makes a valid point that it's not going to hit all the houses, but hitting the ones that we can are valuable. So, anything further on this? Do you need more direction, CAO? Is that? I think everybody supports what you have in theme 4. I think what you have there is good. I think more robust, I think, is, in terms of if there's any way to add to that a little bit, I think maybe that, and if there's any way that you can include any of those presentations that have been made, or even the fact that we've made those presentations asking for exactly that.
Yeah. I'd like to say, one of the things that we had in the presentation before, that try to catch some of the main road for the housing, and it brought up to me by some of my agricultural members, like there's ways to get different ways to bring that natural gas indispensable and stuff. And okay, maybe you miss 20 houses, but you catch 2 or 3 major high operation fires that are grain drying that are burning more fuel than those 20 houses will burn in 1 month than they'll burn in a year. So I think that it's something that natural gas has to look at when they're running at the routes that they run and where the main users are. The elevator dryers for thousands of cubic meters of gas we use. There's other farms that have run that don't use as much as you there, but
they use a lot.
They use 10 or 15% as much. So
yeah, I think it's identifying the capacities.
Yeah.
So making sure that it's understood that a lot of our Eastern Ontario farmers that dry grain need access to this as well. So identifying the need, I think, is a big part of this. So, yeah, good point. Further, anyone? Yep. Are we good? That's good. Okay, then let's go back to discussion on 7B, which is the potential renewables battery energy source project for municipal support. Who wants to start? Nobody. I will. I fully support the project. I think these projects are needed. I think they're needed. I think just like we just discussed gas line expansion, I think as we see things like Pickering closing, we've been involved in a lot of regionally changing, potentially changing discussions about bringing in huge industrial investments into this township. And one of the largest impediments to that investment is the lack of energy and the lack, we just discussed it in gas, increasing that gas. This will help. We've heard Will say it today. This will help provide us the energy we need to secure some of those long-term and those regionally significant investments. So for that reason, I support it. Certainly hearing the chief needing more information about the suppression systems, but not having any initial concerns about us applying to move it forward. If those concerns get identified, I know and I trust that the chief will identify them and make sure that we're aware of those as we move along. But from the initial standpoint, I see absolutely zero reason to not support this. and to help potentially secure, 450 megawatts. I think that's a fantastic potential for our area, very, very low to little impact. So I, as mayor, certainly and fully support this. So the one thing I would like, I think, is the same letter that we asked for base load. I would like that letter of CDF included as part of this as well. And hopefully we'll see that on the 27th. Anyone else?
No, I just want to, I think at your point, we've had lots of delegations, lots of discussion about this. I think, maybe we're not experts in the industry yet, but I think we've seen enough information, and no, I share your view that I definitely would support this for sure. And it's a long run. I mean, it's to get approved till May, and it's probably years after that. But there's more discussion and a bit about some of the finer points. But no, I'm okay to support this.
I supported either of them. I just wonder, and same as you in the council, view the difference in the payout to the township, if not puts them on a better footing to maybe if they're only going to get one project in the township approved. And dollar wise, that just doesn't give the government more lean towards them. That's quite a difference in the construction costs and operating costs that they're going to be able to put to the government what it's going to cost them to buy the power back. So
I think if we go to Will for that one, are you making the same offer to all the townships, or are they all different?
Right, yeah, it's the same offer, to all the townships.
Yeah.
You said that first sees the spread and we might have been on the high end.
Sure.
This road one got even built.
Yeah.
They said this project will provide some what property tax values will.
Yeah, and if IESO secures, like if they say, you get supported to move forward 450 megawatts in Edwardsburg Cardinal, we can have a discussion, right? Yeah. It's not really a hindrance, I don't think. It certainly wasn't in base loads and they were.
I'm just wondering what that of course the government's not let it know if there's a chance that if we got enough energy capacity on there that they would approve both projects.
It could happen. I think realistically, there's many projects being proposed across the country. There's probably 70+ projects being proposed. Yeah, this is one aspect of the bid. We're going to be launching numbers on us as well. So I just want to make sure that's there. Like, we want to work with you guys on this, and and we based on it, and put into our models here, but we can get a lot of companies.
Yeah, if we get approved at 450, we can certainly have a discussion.
I just wondered what you're basically feeding these two projects are basically going to be feeding into the same grid system all the way up through, and I know there has been some resistance from other councils to these projects being established in their townships, but if they can't get the support from some of these other proposed ones that have a better chance for maybe both of them getting approved down here.
It's gonna be what more opportunities that there's a township with the higher the chance of actually receiving one. There was I think in Glacier last year, there was 60 projects proposed. I think one maybe one happened. So there was many projects proposed, and I hope based on us are successful. Because I don't know their capacity to look it up to a certain amount. It can change based on.
But I know Mr. Hunter, and I know this group at the table, and I know the past council as well. We're very growth forward as a group, and I personally see, and I really hope that I know this is a provincial project, but I really see this as having the potential to solve some of the local issues. And you know, as long as we're not losing all the power that's generated to the western part of Ontario. You know, I think it gives us the opportunity, you know, to support the housing industry here, to support. You know, the many needs that will come forward for energy. So as a council, I think we see the benefits of having this far outweigh the negative impacts of it. So as a group. So further comments, anyone else?
I have, through the chair, I've talked to people on my day-to-day life, and no one has given me any reason why we should not support this. It seems like a no-brainer.
And I think the last part that I would say, and I did not ask folks at Baseload when they were here, and their presentation was very similar, but I like a lot that you're doing an Indigenous consultation, and that you're doing a separate agreement with our First Nations community, asking for their support as well. That shows us, you know, a great concern for that, and it matters a lot to us. So thank you for taking on that role as well. So there's nothing to move forward this meeting. We will do that on the 27th. Correct. Okay, but we're asking for the letter of support that we did with Baseload to be the same for. We want to treat everybody the same, right? Correct. Okay. So I don't need to straw poll. It's pretty obvious that where we're at, right? Yep, okay. And that's clear for direction wise? You're good? Okay, all right. So nothing happens tonight. Well, I think you've heard how the group feels. I think you've seen everybody give you a thumbs up. I think I know what you'll see on the 27th when it comes to us to move that motion forward. It'll be on our agenda, guaranteed for the last Monday of the month. So I fully suspect that we'll see the support there. Appreciate the attention. Yeah, we appreciate the work that you're doing, and thank you. All right. Is this where the treasurer gets to dance? I'm looking forward to this one too. This is a great year tonight.
You must have had a good night.
Who, me? What, I've been rocking and rolling? 10 minutes, right? For 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
10 minutes, and the timer's already started. The timer's already started, so.
Take as long as you want.
You can take as long as you need, sir. As long as it's not longer than 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Let's go.
It's a little weird speaking from this side, but
We
I just
can
want
set
to
up.
go over the presentation. So just a few ground rules for the presentation. The purpose of this presentation is more just to present a high level snapshot of kind of what may affect the budget. This isn't meant to really listen to us. It's just kind of a snapshot of the given time. And we'll have those more detailed discussions in the new year. So just with the agenda for the presentation, so go over just 2023 tax collection, just review and analysis, then some operating budget considerations. Then we'll do a draft overview of the 5-year capital plan. I'll emphasize the word draft, and it's just more meant to look at these are projects that have been identified so far as what may need to be done over the next 5 years. And we'll cover both levy-based capital projects and also capital projects. So it'll be all over one group super projects. And then just at the end, just to bring where our meeting schedule is, will be for the actual presentation. So if we take a look at our tax collection review and analysis, as it exceeded 3.6% levy increase The county, was
7.
6.87, and the municipal increase was 2.63. So we're unsure where the county's gonna land, for 2024, but likely the same, so we'll expect it to be the same. And the target is always, another thing to keep in mind with this is when we look to budget and we talk about levy increases. If inflation is say 4%, if we can have the levy come in anything under 4%, we're actually going to be maintained, if we can maintain the same level of service. So I think if what we need to think of as a group is if we want to increase service levels for certain portions, then we would have to look at either a levy increase or a decrease of service somewhere else that will offset that cost. So next year, what I hope to give everybody around this time is just the base budget with kind of assumptions made that can go into a little more detail. Little hard for me to do it under our current system, but that's what I would hope to have for next year, where we can look at some more of those assumptions. The next slide is about how the taxes are spent, and I think the key takeaway on this slide is those three bars that represent most of the dollars spent is going to roads, capital, and reserves, and then recreation. So those are the three main pillars of services that we provide, and they are drawing most attention of the tax dollars. So 57% of what we collect goes to those critical areas. So that's an important piece to note.
Just a quick question, Sean, in relation to that. It doesn't indicate debt anywhere.
Nope.
Where would debt fit in that schedule?
It wouldn't, because this is just for the amount that we take in for taxes, and based on a per $100,000 of residential assessment. So this is just how we spend the money that we bring in, not how we finance capital projects. So this is just the revenue side of the picture, not debt or expenses or anything else. It's just for every dollar that we collect from for municipal taxes, this is how it's spent. So debt payments.
So that's included in, because it's arena, it would be covered.
It would be covered under expenses, and or if the debt is associated with a specific asset, then it would be under that as an operational cost.
So it's included in.
It would be included.
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So impacts for 2024 tax collection. So the one metric that I know is always of importance is every additional 1% brings $65,452.44 to the township based on 2023 taxes. That's what a 1% increase will generate. The one key thing to note on that pie chart is for every dollar that we collect from a ratepayer, really only 56 cents of that dollar stays in the township. The rest is either remitted directly to the county or go to the school boards as part of the budget. So another thing to consider, and as if the county portion continues to creep higher, it limits our ability as a township. We have to then push the levies higher to compensate.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's indicated last year, right? I mean, ultimately, as a township, we passed a 2.63 budget.
Right.
But the ultimate impact was 3.612 because of the county's portion of the levy being 6.87, right? Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you, but if things occur as you know, are being, look like they could occur. And we had 250 new homes, for instance. That helps, that helps offset that as well, obviously, right, from a total dollar perspective. Right?
Oh,
I think
Absolutely. The more that we grow, then, you know, that helps, and that is one thing that I guess I didn't cover on the last slide, is just that impact assessment. So, in all likelihood, we're not going to see an impact assessment until after the next election. Because they would normally do that the year after the election, they would update everything, but they're already 2 years behind, so I can't see them doing an updated assessment and then doing another one again in 2 years. So I think the last time we met with the impact representative, that was what she indicated to us, was that they'll likely take a little more time and get it done for the next term. So really, to Councillor Ward, to your question, like around growth, that's the only change we'll see. So just based on growth, we would see another $11 million in assessed value added to our actual. So that would be what. Operating budget considerations. So increases in tax levy or funding. So what would cause the levy to go up? So currently we are still in an inflationary period. This affects things like fuel cost and availability, cost and availability for repairs and materials, routine maintenance, all those things. The other thing here to note is the salaries. So salaries I put into my salary forecast and put in 4%. Now the union contract states that in 2024, it's the last year of our contract. The salaries increased by 1.754 COLA, which is we as owners, whichever is greater. So we're not we have to use whatever higher. So I did put it at 4% based on CPI was coming in about 3.8. We won't know the numbers number till the middle of December, and then I'll update all of these numbers, and this would include union and non-union staff. OPP fees are set to increase by 1.8%, about 20,000. Which isn't terrible. We went down last year. So that's good. The OMPF changed a little bit, went down $1,000. So that's why it's been the increase. So, but $1,000 doesn't have a huge impact. But if it changes more in years to come, then it's something we'll have to look at. The key point here on slide 2 is just what will cause a decrease in the tax levy or funding. And one of the things that I guess the good side of our financial position and the amount of cash and investments that we hold, the interest rate is much higher than it was in the years past. So in our budget for 2023, we conservatively put $100,000 for interest income in our operating account. That's actually going to be closer to 200,000. So that'll be an extra 100,000 that we gain this year. And all of that can be used to offset the higher costs as noted above. So while the number looks a little bit scary when you look at salaries and owners and how that all fits together, we do have higher interest income to offset it. So it's not that it's directly going to affect the end levy calculation. And also with our reserve account and also the GIC investment generated approximately $260,000 in interest that we can use for capital projects. So increases in community grants and donations. So we've got currently 15,000 in our community development fund. We also had some other requests come in this year. Maple View Lodge was one of them. 7,500 commitment for 3 years, totaling 22,500. 7,500 requested for 2023. Sherwood Park Lodge, 7,000 commitment for 5 years, or they had another amount that would be just for term of council. But the total of ask is $35,000. And then just through past agenda discussions, there was a potential for perhaps a $20,000 annual donation fund to go along with 15,000 for community grants and donations. That would put our total amount to 49,500 for 2024. However, we do have the option when we do look in January, February, to know better what our surplus is. For some of these one-time items, or not one-time items, but some of these bigger items like Maple View Lodge or Sugar Park Lodge, we can offer to do a lump sum payment and then not have to pay budgeted every year. If that's what council chooses to do. Again, just more, we do have a lot of capability available.
Yeah, Sean, when you say the 49,500 in community grants and donations, that's our total where we have people come to us and looking for money?
No, that's what it would be if we had 15,000 for grants and donations, 7,500 for Maple View Lodge,
Yeah.
7,000 for Sherwood Park, and then if we decided to go with a separate capital fund.
Okay, for what we wanted for the Legions and so on.
Yeah, so then it would be a total of 49,500 that we'd be budgeting next year.
Great, thank you.
Draft 5-year capital plan.
It's fine.
Let the fire.
Alright, so I split this into two categories, levy-based capital and user rate capital. Now I just kind of sum this up by department. To be clear again, nothing has been decided for what we're going to do for 2024. It's just this is what's out there, and also going into the future. Things based on discussions we have as at our capital meetings. Will obviously we might move stuff forward, we might push stuff into the future, we might do a bunch of things, but this is just everything as it was in the plan. So funding sources and priorities would be decided on a budget project basis. And then also how we fund this is a combination of our operating surplus, reserves, grants, and any additional capital levies. So if we decide to do a capital levy and attach it to a specific project, then that would be the way that we could raise money. So I'll start with fire department and administration. So I just highlighted the items that are just kind of high level and of note. So with the fire department, we didn't have any capital in 2023. In 2027, we're going to need a new pumper truck. So that truck would have been estimated at 850,000. We're not going to tender that until 2025, but I just spread the cost so that we can save for it as it comes to them. With the new retirement of the Cardinal fire station, then we might undertake some engineering development costs or engineering costs in 2024, but we won't see any of those other costs until it's actually built. And it would obviously be once it gets closer to tender, we would update all the rules amount, but this is just a preliminary estimate of what that may look like. For the bid, Really, it was, the renovation that we were looking to take at, the township office. Really, we pushed that to 2024, so, we did spend some of that money, this year, so that's kind of reflected in here. In 2023, and so we would use that to do any IT upgrades or anything else. So not when it comes time for January, when we look at capital, we would then go and have a detailed plan of how that money is going to be spent. But that admin one is another one where we actually have that in reserve, so there's no impact to the rate area between the modernization fund and the admin fund, we have that $300,000, so we're not going to the rate payers for that. So recreation, what I've done here is just grouped it by segment. So when we look at parks, for instance, one key thing that shows up in 2025 is the water fund, water upgrades, and then also just some paving in 2027. So really in 2024, those are what you would see from the recreation director as far as what sort of projects you would see, and then I've included 2023 obviously for comparison, but really for ball diamonds and tennis courts, we've got the Cardinal tennis court, and then the lights for Johnston. But all of that will be pending discussion. Yeah.
So Sean, the 250, excuse me, the 250 it's in for the tennis courts, it's already out for 2023 budget though.
That was the Johnstown.
Yes,
The Johnstown is already, it's in 2023. The
226,840. Okay, so the 250 is for the Cardinal
Yes.
tennis court.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I see.
So
Right,
that's, if we decide we want to do that, that was the last
Right,
estimated
okay.
cost.
thank you, yeah.
So, sorry, and apologize for, let's call it directness here. But you know, I mean, as a council at this table, we all represent everybody in the township. But when I look at this here, I'm hoping from a rec perspective, we can do a deeper dive and find something here, because what I'm seeing in the next 5 years is nothing in Spencerville and area, and I need that to be figured out somehow, so we have an opportunity to for growth. The only thing I'm seeing is basically I think in a budget down next few pages down, where we're basically spending money to reduce the rec services in the area in Spencerville. So I need us to see if we can figure that out. That's all I'm gonna say.
So with the arena, so again, nothing really big for the arenas except for 2027, and that would be around the potential decommissioning of the Spencerville. So that those are all moving targets. We might get there, and the need is still there, so then it would be fine. And if not, we've got lots of time to look at that and see what other options are available to us.
With that line item, I understand that arena is an aging building that you know continues on a year by year basis. You know, an item that I would like to see come forward for consideration is you know, there's a lot of money from provincial funding that goes out when people have shovel-ready projects. And in discussions with our neighbors to the north in Kemptville, they certainly are looking for the creation of a third ice pit. And they have the money and they want to do, they want a collaborator, somebody to work with them. And and through having that discussion with them on the side, I would like to see if there's the potential to do a study so that we have a shelf-ready project that should funding come along, and we can secure a partner in North Grenville, that we actually have the ability to replace this building, and we know what those costs are. I mean, it's one thing to prepare for the eventual decommissioning of it, but if North Grenville feels the need and the group at the table feels the need to continue along the road, we're not going to do that if we don't have the needed studies and the needed engineer work and the needed support on the shelf waiting for a project just like that. So for me, I think in terms of 2024, 25, 26, I think we need to plan for that, not just for the decommissioning, but for the potential of the creation of the new. So.
And I think some of these discussions will flow out as we finish the strategic plan as well, right? Because that would take into consideration what I would call projects that would allow us to grow our services where we want to have those studies done so that we can participate in that grant.
Yeah, and seeing this in here, and I guess to staff, I think it would be worthwhile having a conversation with our neighbors to the north about their interest in creating a study together that does just that. Sorry to take a minute on you.
No, that's fine. And then with the pools, there's some future projects on the Johnstown pool as far as the liner carbon ones will be done this year. So we'll be due in 2026. And then just in this building, just a few items for 2024. So moving on to Public Works. So Public Works is split into two parts. So the first one is just with equipment and bridges and things of that nature. Everything except for roads. So one thing that's noted in here is that town master plow truck. So we need a total of 3 new town trucks by 25-26 to replace aging units and to reduce our equipment repair costs. One other thing that's highlighted on the bridge we have is we did have in 2023 the expansion joints for the Weir Road Bridge. Unfortunately, that did not get completed this year, so the whole thing moves to 2024, where we'll get that done. Also, with a lot of that bridge work, we do use our OSIP funding for those items, so it's not all born out of the levy. So that is what the OSIP is designed for, is project like roads and bridges and stuff, and that's what we've used those for. And because we were a little light during the 2 years of COVID, we have built up some funds in those accounts, so we would look to start to spend that in 2024, because we're going to continuously get new funds to do it. This might be hard for everybody to see, but yeah. But this was just thank you to the Director of Operations for preparing this. He did a deep dive into just what the actual road costs are looking like they're going to be, and what work on those roads needs to be done. Granted, when we do get to the January capital meetings, there'll obviously be much more detailed analysis that will be presented to council for this. But I think the one key takeaway is that we've got a potential of 3.4 million to budget to spend on roads to do a little over 15 kilometers, I think that's 15.
Sorry, what was the number again?
In 2024, we've got 3.4 million, and then if you look at the length in meters,
Yes.
so 15,000, so that would be 15 kilometers.
And the 3.4 that's budgeted would be all of the roads that are shown there getting done? And do we have the funding for that? Are you suggesting we have that?
We would have to look at that when it's presented. When it's presented in the usual format that I would present, then I would show kind of what funding we have already allocated. Because some of this will be funded by OC as well, along with
Some of it would be funded by what, Sean?
OC.
Okay.
And then we would be able to use our CPDF, some of the federal gas tax funds for that too. So,
Just a question to the treasurer. I know when we went to the port and we secured more funds. Am I right in thinking that next year there'll be close to $1 million in that fund that we could use towards this road network as well?
that would be correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So just in those funds alone secured over last year and this year, it would reduce that 3.4 to 2.4 that the levy would have to support, or gas tax or a combination. But if we want to use all of that money to do roads, we can do $1 million worth of roads just from the extra that we've secured from the port, correct? Yeah.
And when you look, excuse me, can I go?
Yeah.
And when really, if we do that way, and we spent 1.83 in 2024, we're only looking at $600,000 more.
1.83 is this year.
Yeah,
That's this year.
no,
A lot of them.
Yeah. Where we spent 1.83 last year was in our budget, and if you include that with that, it's only about 600,000. So I feel really more in fuzzy, really.
So just so I'm correct on this before we go further then, because that number confused me a little bit.
Okay.
The number 3.464, is that including the 1.83 from this year?
No.
Or no, it's not, right? So to be able to do everything in the 2024 column, it's going to be 3.4.
Correct.
Right. It has nothing to do with the 1.8. Right. Okay.
I extended the highlight because they're only gonna do just the 1 base layer, and then they've got to finish the paving next year, so. But from our perspective, I have to show it because it's our project, but it's not our cost.
Right.
So that would go directly.
Right, that goes to the county, right? We're not actually paying that portion. So just so we're clear, if we wanted to do every piece of paving that's included on the list, the impact is 3.4, right? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. I like the approach. I mean, I know next year, I feel like that's a catch up year. We talked about the capacity of what we can do in length this year, and County Road 2 was a big effort, and I get that. And next year, 2024, that 3.4 looks to me like a catch up year, if you will, or it was a rebuilding year, I guess, essentially. I'm not going to ask if the CNO if we have the capacity at this point with that. I mean, I'm assuming if we have the numbers in front of us, we're reasonably confident now. That I like the fact that you have, I'm going to say 2.5 million on average for the laying years. I'm assuming that number is scientific. What we think we need to put into roads right now to maintain, is that?
That's based on our estimates. So we're always.
Based on what's right? Perfect. Okay. Yep. That's good. That's fine. I think I would trust that.
So ultimately, looking to the strategic plan as well is the goal of that would be to tie our strategic plan, the asset management plan, to the 5-year capital forecast. Yeah, if we want to expand that as 10 years. The whole idea is that those three items are connected, and not we still have a journey to go.
Excellent. No, like I said, I like the approach, I like what you're doing there, so I appreciate that, so thanks a lot.
But I want to add as someone who came to council with a mandate, that mandate matters, as well as. And I think it's great that we have asset management plan, but for the mandate of this group, we've already heard one councillor say. There isn't enough recreation in Spencerville included in the budget, and I fully anticipate he's going to bring a project forward. So that, you know, something gets included in recreation in Spencerville for consideration. That may not show up in our asset management.
Right, and there'll be other things that have been discussed as well, like urban waterfront, that's nowhere in right here, but it's. You know, it's gonna be something that's gonna be for discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for clarity though, and I'm gonna look to the CAO and maybe yourself. The impact to Edwardsburg Cardinal ratepayers, levy payers, taxpayers for the project that's going on the Highway 2. Is there any direct to a Spencerville person for the work that's going on Highway 2? Or is it just to the people that are connected to water and sewer?
Just the people that are affected.
So just so we're clear of that, because I'm not, the way that you said it made me think that somebody in Ventnor was paying for the Highway 2 project, and I just think that it's important to note that 1.8 million is borne by the users of the water system in Edwardsburg, right? Or the rest of it's being paid by counties or wherever, how that all gets divvied out. And I know there's only one ratepayer that puts forward to it, and a good portion of that is, you know, Canada and Ontario dollars as well. But folks in Spencerville aren't paying for Cardinal's water and sewer project, nor are they paying for the paving project that's going on there.
And we'll see that as I go to the rate base. You'll see that in Cardinal water and wastewater. You'll see it in the 2023 column. Scott was announced for.
I'm sorry, I don't recall saying anything about the water, maybe I missed that.
No, I think you made the suggestion that we didn't pave anything because, you know, all the money was getting focused on this project. And I think that the reality is that there's the plan for a very robust plan for 2024, because we didn't have the capacity to do a bigger one in 2023. But I think the plan all along has been to do a very robust, as you can see, very robust paving project that encompasses the entire township.
Well, like I said, I was big for this plan. I understand why we didn't do this year, so I apologize if that came out the wrong way.
From what I remember from our capital discussions too, is the reason why we didn't do a lot of I'll just say roads, because we did a lot in recreation, a lot in other areas, but with the magnitude of that County Road 2 project, we would have been stretched to manage. So since we won't have that, and we were still tying up the Johnstown and Spencerville drainage projects, so this was a way to allow us to, we'll still have some County Road 2 stuff going into 2024, but it won't have any effect on any of the sort of anything that's already been budgeted and allocated in 2023, so it doesn't impact our 2024 discussion, but it will affect execution on what we can actually do. So moving on to rate-based capital, so here you have the Cardinal wastewater and water. Nothing really of note in 2024 other than regular maintenance capital, as I would see what we would see every year. The one thing to note in 2025, we've got Main Street water service replacements that'll be tied to whenever we do the road portion.
So just a question on that. It's included under the 2024 from Joseph to Dunn and us for Reed Street for paving.
It is.
It shows it on this list.
Then that would move to 2024.
And so then that 100,000 should be actually in the 2024 column, right?
If that's.
Because we're not gonna cut the road that we just paved.
No, exactly, so that was just because there's two separate people preparing these budgets, it was just a way to, if that portion of Main Street is where we want to do the water replacement, then that gets moved, put together as one project.
And so, to you or to the CAO or maybe to Gord on that one, the cost of that 100,000, is that our pipes that are getting replaced, or is that the pipe that's going directly to the house getting replaced?
Through the chair, that is the township one, so it would be from the main property line.
Okay, and at the same time that that's being done, will we have communications with, you know, the residents that are affected as to why those pipes are being replaced, and will they get an option?
Typically, it's left up to negotiations for the resident to make with the contract themselves. But it definitely could inform residents on why this is being done. They might see the roads be done, but don't understand why the lines have been been up since it's relatively new.
Okay. I certainly think that information should get relayed, why, you know, why we are doing it and why they should take up the possibility at the same time. Makes total sense to do it. Sorry about that.
No, and just some of the other future projects under departmental water would just be the big one in 2027 is just the east leg expansion of County Road 2. So that'll be something that will have plenty of discussion.
Just so I'm aware, that's where we stopped this time is on Highway 2 at St. Lawrence. And that would take it from St. Lawrence basically all the way to, are we talking the east limit of the township or the east limit of the system?
Through the chair, that would take it to Sawmill Creek. I believe because Sawmill Creek, there's actually BBC in there. It's a smaller line unless township decided to go larger.
Because the water system continues quite a distance after Sawmill Creek, correct?
Yes, but it's PVC.
Okay. Okay, so this would only replace them from St. Lawrence to Sawmill.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
So that would be that needs to be pulled out and replaced with newer stuff. So if it's on the sea or we're on about that.
Public grants for $1 million. Grants are in the sea. Well, just about you want to get it.
And again, with the Spencerville wastewater, pretty self-explanatory, you know, upgrades in 2027, but other than that, nothing really surprising there. And again, just at the bottom, all charges are for the rate base count, or state or by the direct utility set. So out of our general funds. So proposed meeting schedule, January 8th, COWAO would be a capital meeting on those some. And then some other time in January, we obviously want to schedule a capital meeting number 2. I know I said if needed, but they will be needed. And
Optimistic. Operations might be close.
yeah, so and then February 12th, we visually look at the operating budget. But we should have our numbers from county and be able to firm up
and get those done.
well, we maybe we can that this, but and then the goal is on March 11th to present the final consolidated budget. And with all the changes discussed in January and February, and like this year, hopefully in March we pass the budget by law, and then
Okay.
we're good for another year.
Just for information, I will be away on the 11th. I believe that's the first Monday of March break. But I think I should have the full ability to contribute virtually. Should we Should we, maybe can do it. I don't mind letting someone else, you know, the deputy. Can certainly chair that meeting quite well, I think, and I can contribute just in case there's. You know, some issues as Mr. Martell understood while he was away on vacation that sometimes electronically. It doesn't allow you to participate fully, so. Might have been so
I know that we do it as well, so I think there's any
virtually.
Richard.
Yeah, so I think, it's, you know, it is what it is, so let's take it going.
Or there's there, you know, as we go through those discussions, we could always schedule special budget meetings and everybody back.
Does it help while we're here and the group is here, there's TBDs? We're like, the reality is, and I know it says if needed, why don't we schedule those dates? Right, why don't we schedule those dates and then cancel them if we don't need? That way they're at least in our book, and I don't find myself trying to make changes to a schedule that seems to run me. I would much rather, you know, make those dates if possible now, and if we end up with a free night, great. Rather than trying to squeeze in another one.
Well, we do have 5 Mondays in January.
And we don't have
We
CDA.
can-
New Year's Days.
We do have a Roma happening on 22nd though as well.
Roma takes up that. When to staff, you need 2 weeks between that initial discussion and the next one? Or was one week's not gonna be enough?
Depending on what the result is, right?
What would you prefer?
Probably 2.
So we're away. We'll all be at Roma on the 22nd. Good night, Michelin. Good night, Rob.
Night. So the 24th, we're back, right?
The 23rd at night, we should be back. We're
Tuesday?
back- We should be back Tuesday night.
So why can't we have it the 25th,
I'm okay for the 23rd.
Thursday? How's that, staff? Mr. CAO.
Does that work?
So we got January 8th and January 25th for capital. Is that what we're saying?
Just a question. Are budget meetings a special meeting of council or are they a special meeting of committee of the whole? Because if we need to accommodate, like it's different if we need to accommodate Karen and John potentially as well, right?
Well, I would suggest that the whole.
Okay, so we need to make sure that works for me, that works for Steve, works for Chris. John, does that work for you?
We'll work it in.
Okay, Karen, you're okay with that as well? Okay, so nodding, everybody said yes, I think at this point, so you good? Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
get over somewhere else, I'll try to do.
We'll try to. Okay, and then February. Is the 12th. So, and you'd want it, that's where it gets tougher.
But that's operation budget. We're in operating budget, February 12th.
So is the 22nd enough time to get it back to council on the 26th? Right? I mean, those budgets have been so well presented. The last one was really well presented. I don't know that we made any changes to it, but.
And it would be the same.
Good night, all.
So, yeah, it's time. It's really more to, as long as I have all the information from the counties and I can put it into the system, so that's enough time.
Okay, and so February 22nd, the one thing we haven't discussed on those 2 dates is a start time.
6:30.
Like, do we want to do them late? In the past on Thursdays, we've done them earlier.
Yeah, I'm good if you want to do it earlier, for sure.
Like, I don't know what the will of everyone around the table is, what the ability for staff to attend is, or anything like that, but I mean. Willing to,
We could start at 6 p.m.
I don't think it's 4.
What was that about 5?
Well,
It's fun for everyone.
I don't care, I don't care, I'm just wondering if every 6:30 works for everybody, let's do. 6:30, if not, let's discuss time. We've done it as early, I think, on some of the Thursdays as due.
This is operating we talking about?
Yeah,
And single capital as well.
it's your January meeting and
January, like,
your Thursday afternoon meetings, your Thursday meetings, not the Monday ones, right? Because I think we're doing 25th and 22nd for these ones. Speaker.
The 12th for operating is the first, and then what's the second one? February 25th, is that what you're saying?
February 22nd,
22nd, okay.
but it's the time on the Thursday ones. Trying to nail down what time the Thursday meetings are.
Operation, but it's an operation budget. We're pretty good on that.
Yeah, I don't care what time you want to start.
I'm good, whatever you guys want.
Karen, does
Just
that have
give
any
me
time
time.
on you? What time to start?
Yeah.
Joe?
I'll be here.
Chris? John?
And make any difference to me?
You said 5, please? Yep, all right, 5 o'clock.
Thursday, February 22nd, it's 5 o'clock.
I've got a whole bunch of no cares and one that cares, so 5 works.
On February 22nd,
February 22nd, January 25th.
oh, both and January 25th.
The Thursday meetings will be 5.
Okay, so.
Everything else is 6:30 is normal, right?
6:30, so I'm gonna change this one. Thank you for the update. 5 p.m.
Will you
on
send out,
January 25th, 5 p.m.
can staff send out a calendar invite for those dates as well, please?
Well, it's very simple.
Well,
There we are.
it includes package.
Okay,
Okay, so now I guess do we further discussion or do we move this on at this point? Like if somebody has questions for the treasurer, now's the time. I mean, he's made a presentation, right? Pre-budget. I mean,
yeah,
if there are things in there we don't want in there, or things we want included in there, is now the time to speak or forever hold our peace?
I have one, and it's just for me, no, it's
Elimination question.
oh, sorry.
I guess through the chair, yes, if there is anything that before January when we meet for capital, if there's anything you would like to see. Now would be the time to let us know so we can.
That's the time to let them know.
Well, like I said,
You're talking about a capital project over the
Yeah,
next 3 or
that's
4
like
years.
you.
That's yours to bring forward. We need to get it to them.
Fair enough.
So tonight, no, if you want to go home and think about it for a couple of days, we'll get it to you. Okay. I'm with you. I agree. It was the one thing that hit me as well when I looked at it, for sure. I saw decommissioning and I didn't see any emissions, so, or at least improvements, and I struggle with that. But if you're going to do that, then you can email through. Okay, so there's nothing glaring that anyone wants to add right away or take off right away?
No, I just want to confirm right away.
Do we know the final cost of the Johnstown tennis courts at this point? Are we under budget?
There'll be a little bit.
What's a little bit? Okay, so it'll be coming in around 200 then? More or less? And that doesn't include the lights that are on there?
Lights are on.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Oh, the lights that are in this budget is the ball lights.
Is the actual venue and the coding.
Okay, that's all that's left to be done.
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty cheap, with not having to.
My, so I have to be honest, I don't have a big interest in the full renovation of the Cardinal tennis courts. I don't. But what I would like are some options to make them usable. So looking at, at the basketball courts and stuff, like what could we, get creative? I mean, obviously new fencing has to be part of that, but is there some way, like, we don't need Flushing Meadows, I don't think. I mean, I think if those courts saw the same surfacing that the Johnstown ones are going to see right now. You know, they'd be better than probably 90% of the population's tennis courts. So most of those courts are still in, at least from, you know, me going over and playing around on them a little bit, other than the one continued crack that goes through them. They look to be in fantastic, you know, shape, other than surface wise, other than that one spot that goes through both of them. I'm just curious as if there is a potential to not have to redo the entire thing that might cost us a quarter of the amount, that's all. And end up with a pretty decent product. Not getting a whole lot of, not getting any feedback back on that.
Immediately right on the big difference. But if you're gonna do renovating it, I don't think you should do it. If you want the people to use it, and utilize it to its capability, then you should upgrade money, put the upgrade money in first, kind of like what we've done here. Offer that. If you don't want to have pickleball and tennis courts in 2 different areas of the country, then you can look at potentially using it's something else. I would recommend upgrading the basketball courts, because that is one thing that we do a lot of, is that it would be better than the tennis upgrade. But if you don't want the tennis courts, then we're doing good on it.
Yeah, I think, and again, we're gonna get into this deliberation later. I'm just wondering if there are other options that we can see other than, you know, a full replacement, or if it's a full replacement, maybe it should be a full replacement of something else, not the tennis court, that's all. Like, is there another, like you're saying, there are other options that it could be used for? I know that.
Well, the
all
reason
the
that the reason that I kept this in there, because the will was.
Yeah.
That they wanted to done. And that's why we got the approval from council today, back 2 years ago, to submit funding through the grant applications, we both, right? And we didn't get the grant application, so council decided to do one this year, so it was my something that they would want to do right next year.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I certainly support doing something. I'm just not sure about a 100% rehab of something that may or may not, you know, get utilized for that purpose when we're building brand new ones here. You know, I struggle with the need, I think, to, you know, to do that, and if they're already mostly okay and they just need new fencing and, you know, a new coating on them, and that makes them, you know, up like 90%, then I'm probably okay with 90%. So, you know, I just options, I think, is probably what I'm saying. You know, it's not off for me that I don't know that I'm going to support a full rehab. I think, you know, and again, we're going to get into those full discussions. When we go back up to the fire, there's 2 million in 2025 and 2 million in 2026 that say building capital upgrades. When you made your presentation, did I hear you not say close the Cardinal Station?
Well, I thought that was to 4 million to build a new fire station.
Okay, so so it would be a new fire station, not a capital, not an upgrade to what's there.
Capital replacement. It's not a
Right.
replacement.
Yeah, I found that, like, when I read that earlier, I was like, oh, we're gonna fix the hall we have. Is that the intention? So this is for 4 million towards a new building. We think we can build a new building for 4 million bucks.
I'm sure.
$1 million a door. That's what they cost. I mean, Prescott's was 5 million, right? And so we have had, to the chief, we, like, from an engineering standpoint, we've looked at, you know, the Augusta build, the Elizabethtown Kitley builds. Is there any way that we can share engineering, share costs? oral engineering, by engineering that's already been done, if it meets what our needs are?
Through the chair, there's definitely maybe a possibility there, but, have to decide on move on the project.
Do we know more about the land? I know we did some work on the site of the old arena. I know that was the preferred location if we were going to build. Do we know about, remediation there? Do we know any further? Last I heard that there was brownfield work that needed to be done, but we weren't aware of what the cost would be. Do we know more about that or no?
Yeah, through the chair, I know we did the second round of sampling. And the hydrocarbons that were identified have not moved anywhere, they were very moved on. We basically we've identified them and what to do with it, once we start excavating the site.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna discuss this at budget time anyway. One thing for me, from an administration standpoint, from a operational standpoint, that I've spoken to, I know deputy's spoken to it, I know the group believes in this. We really want, and I think that this project, especially the brownfield portion of it, I know we haven't really received a lot of OTF funding. We've been somewhat successful in a little bit of our grants, but I really strongly believe that we need somebody to write our grants for us. And I know that takes away a lot of administrative burden from our staff and allows staff to do, the work that they are doing. And I know that, or at least I think that the group here at the table certainly would support, at least considering that option in their budget, so that, anything that helps make our dollars go, we're going to invest those dollars in recreation and roads and fire halls and trucks and all that sort of stuff. If there are grants to be had out there where, other levels of government are willing to pitch in and help us achieve our goals, I certainly wouldn't want to miss out on that. And I know often we feel like we're missing out on some of the things that we want to qualify for. So if it's worth a discussion, adding that person or at least that contract or whatever it may look like to grants, or whether that's a collaborative project with our neighbors, whatever it needs to be. I think that needs to be a consideration. I certainly know coming into budget from a planning perspective, that this group and from a staff perspective, from everywhere perspective, we've heard it, I think, over and over and over, that there's a need for planning staff, from an operations, from an admin, a planning perspective. I think, seeing a budgeting in there for a planning position, or the potential of having that additional discussion. I don't know if that ends up having to be an open or a closed session discussion, but if we're talking about it in budget and it needs to be included in budget for next year, even if we're going to go down the road of having that discussion, it needs to be in the budget. So we need to know what it's going to cost and how much we're going to pay for it. We don't have to do it, but it's certainly been something that's been discussed at this table. So with the need for not quicker planning, but just for planning.
Through the chair, yes, that'll be included when I would present the operation budget, because I don't have all the salary information. So if we do want to add to our staff, that's where you would see it.
Yeah,
and you would see it presented in that way as far as why there was an increase is to because they're adding in this area. So that's where you would see it.
and so for those two things that I just spoke of, we will see the potential of what the potential of adding those two positions would be, or if staff believes that there are other things that need to be considered, we'll see that as well.
The CEO and I have chatted about those positions and. You know, preliminarily, we would put a budget figure in related to those positions.
Yeah.
And you see how it affects you around.
Okay, and I have it's sort of an off-topic question, but I'm gonna ask our staff about it. Well, it'll relate back, I promise. Gord, have you had the opportunity to drive Marine Station Road?
I have not.
Chris, have you? Is that chip and seal? Which is?
It is a thin layer of surface treatment. More craft, how you normally apply the cracks of the surface, an asphalt surface. And why we microsurfacing the filling up the micro cracks. And it doesn't do anything for liability, but for surface.
So that road was, I'm gonna look to you for some. Input on this. It was, but was it similar or was it done at a similar time as Rock Street and Armstrong Road and further? Marine Station Road. Oh, Marine Station Road. That's it's just been redone.
Yeah.
It's just been redone now. I'm just wondering if it was.
It was done by September.
Yeah.
I think it was done,
I get that.
2 years ago. We were on council, that's when they changed the thing, we changed back end, we took over and they. went with.
So what was it done around the same time as Rock Road? That's my question. Long after. All right, and so the product they put on it isn't the same product that it was.
It's just an addition. It's a maintenance.
Okay, I was just, we've driven it a lot lately with the Highway 2 project and sorry.
I mean, just a year or two ago, I think they did turn over 40 phones. You saw this crack and there was a black, very thin layer of material.
That's all that's put on Marine Station Road, is that sand and oil?
It's not oil, it's actually quite hard. It's very hard on the blades, you got a plow actually.
That looks like it's brand new paint.
It's very thin. It's very thin. Goes in on micro crack. And the surface where it doesn't go into the water, where it gets up. It on
Similar.
Interesting. Yeah, because it didn't have the same effect on 44.
This is a snapshot.
I know it's a snapshot, but my question, where I was going with the question is, all those roads, those 5 roads that are surface treated, Rock, Armstrong, and all that are included in next year's budget. And my question was, will it be similar to what that product is, or what will we be getting for that month?
I mean, that's
Those prices are okay. All right, and that's the discussion we'll have at budget, will be asphalt, not surface treat. Okay, that's where I was headed with that long preamble. Sorry, Steve.
Just one thing, I had a note that I guess I didn't say or something like that on my sheet here. As far as on the public works equipment, we have 3 trucks. We have this year's truck and 2024, 2025 truck. There's no other trucks we need that are in the horizon for 26 and 27 that we think of.
So for the chair, or you need to especially pick up. So we have the 1 new truck coming. Unfortunately, won't be coming until January now. Orders, and then the last 2 will be team 6.
Fair enough. No, I just was noticing like 2026, I want to say there's nothing there for now. I know that'll change in how forecasting works, but an opportunity might be there, as all I'm saying, to at least reserve some funds, but we have that discussion.
Okay.
Okay, the chair. In order to start, so they did about 18 months. For
52 weeks. and then-
Yeah, but no. Still waiting for the first, second. Yep.
All right, further, any,
I just have a question. One other question.
go,
I just want to ask our Sean, our treasurer. And I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Where it says, we had a 2.63 increase municipality. And the counties had what, 6.87. And our overall rate increase is 3.6. How do we get that?
How that would arrive at use, would be 58% of the 2.63 plus 32% of the 6.87. Add that together, you get 3.612.
it's not that bad.
No,
Yeah.
I just couldn't figure it out. How do we arrive at that? Thank you, 56 and 32. That's how we get, thank you.
Yeah, in your brain, you're thinking it should be 4.5.
Yeah, I just, okay, thank you. Okay, let's get off this subject.
Well, I think these go a long way towards lessening the actual budget discussions. I mean, I know there's still gonna be,
I don't.
I think they do though. I think that we're setting expectations for staff.
Yeah.
And they're hearing the comments that we're making now. If they expect to pass a capital budget in 2 meetings, if we come to them with something that's completely different than what they're proposing. It's going
And we
to
may
make
have to have 3.
it's gonna make that process a heck of a lot more difficult, and now's the time. If you wanna make them aware of those major differences, now's the time to signal that. You know, you don't have to signal next year's, but I think we certainly need to signal this year's, and I think what this shows is that this group is committing to a considerable roads project, paving project, getting that revitalization that we've all talked about township roads.
Well-
all parts of the township back to, we're getting it back to where we thought it should be.
Well, that's not passed yet.
Right, but that's what it's showing our commitment is towards in this budget. So I guess what I'm saying is if you don't like that, you want it to be somewhere else, now's the time. Nothing?
Oh, no, I mean, the roads, I'm not gonna pay for the road, that's for sure.
Okay, all right, so let's move on. We got what we needed out of that. You didn't need any solid direction, right? Like, how do you feel?
Through the chair, this was really just to, as a discussion items. And just as a way to set the stage for the discussions in January, so. All the things that we talked about tonight, you don't have to talk about that in January. You can look at the business cases that are presented and have a discussion on that. We've already presented what might be coming.
Which is why it's important. If you've got something you want a splash pad, give a splash pad. That's what your suggestion, right? Right, you want a ball tennis sport, make the suggestion. And then I would suggest that you figure out where the funding comes from before you. The funding comes from, yeah. All right, so we are on to 8D then, is that correct? Which is the NFPA certification update. And who's gonna speak to it? Chief gonna speak to it?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I could have invited our training officer, Steve Roberts, Steve, and love to,
Hey, Chief. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having your service. First time speaking. And for all of you.
So NFPA is a base training was several years ago. It's a good way, it's a standard of doing things, more efficiency, safely, across the standard of the province. Within our fire department, the LL3 basic requirements for everyone to have operations. The CNO chart is getting behind there, which is up to date this year. It's the third time, 89% have completed awareness, maybe forward criminal membership operations. 97% have completed level 1 firefighter, and firefighter 2 is at 39%. And by next year, in the springtime, we would actually say we're hosting our 2 course with the super class 50 firefighters will attend it, 79%. Still give us a few years to go through this. So I'm just starting to get people or volunteer departments, so making a schedule that lasts for 6 weeks of different training nights to start, or some people can get a shift work or family test. So I went with some live in there. Saying that we also do this through more training centers or on tracks, so there's a box with by the OFC with them and academic standards evaluations. And we will continue. This is again just the basics training. There's more training with all of that, including training with always learning. I train on the side that also where everyone might do it. Same as in top members for 20 years, and then they follow the course, and then a lot of science supplier changes, building construction, things like that are some of the topics that are top of it. That was it.
Just a
Questions?
Just one if I can, Steve, the 2 years remaining before the regulation deadline. So 79% are approved, the deadline's July 1st, 2026. For the 79% that are already approved, or they've already met the requirement, do they have a different deadline than somebody who completes on June 1st, 2026 Like, is there a research for them, or how does that?
It's a one-time survey.
It's a one-time cert, okay. That was my only, yeah.
The one question I have is, there's always staffing, sure, when there's a paid or volunteer position. So, at the end of the day, the NFPA, is it always got to be 100%, or do they allow for a training? In other words, like, if you don't have all the certification, you can't start the job essentially, or do they have a system in place for you to deal with onboarding essentially?
They know it takes time for the department to determine whether the regulation for the bylaw, or you want to call it, if you determine from the department that you want to stay and you can't do it, we have to part of another line, or we'll set up a separate animal, or we will train a partner for the one by a certain date, set those expectations. So they know when they sign up to volunteer that this is the expectation, have these completed by.
Okay, great, thank you. Good. Anyone else? No, well done. Just say it. Yeah, exactly. I'll echo the deputy mayor. It certainly shows the commitment that that the volunteers are continuing, have done, and continue to do to reach the high levels of certification. So well done to the teams. Okay, surplus tanker. This is a good news story. I know Brian's gonna want, or the chief's gonna want to speak to this one for sure.
Just going to advise the committee of the auction results for our surplus tanker. The auction closed on October the 13th, and the winning bidder was Eastway Tank of Ottawa, with a bid of $76,500, and after fees, the township included $7,762.50. Financial considerations, current balance of our bid reserve is $358,688.57, with pumpers scheduled for replacement in 2027 and 2030. And I'm going to make a recommendation that committee recommends that council director treasurer replace $7,762.50 from the sale of the surplus tanker to the fire department vehicle reserve.
Good. Thank you for the report, chief. To the CAO, what's the bylaw on where funds go from surplus
sales?
Yeah.
It's not overly clear, and when we review the disposal of surplus goods, I think that's an item that we'll want to update.
It would not,
I think this is it is the appropriate spot for that.
I've certainly seen the need, you know, to replace another tanker, taking a piece of that off. When it goes into like if this 70,000 goes into a reserve fund, is that reserve fund collecting, are we collecting interest? On that while it sits in there, is it earning the 5.4% that everything else is? Because it seems like if we're not gonna buy that for 2 or 3 years, we could certainly pay off a chunk of it, by having it invested.
Through the chair, in this case, no. The amounts that are in that account, just show up on our balance sheet. So it's not in the interest bearing account, it's surplus. So surplus isn't necessarily money.
Right.
So it's surplus equipment, so it sits in with our segregated reserves, so but that doesn't drive ours. So it's the money that we have in our dedicated capital reserve account.
Right. So this is gonna earn no interest, is that what you're telling me?
We're no,
That's disappointing.
but when we in public works and fire department, we do, and same with administration, recreation, all of those reserve accounts that we do transfers to reserves. They go to those balance sheet accounts, they don't go to, it's not money.
Right.
It's just balance sheet item.
Right, yeah, that was a tough one for me to come to grips with when asked it, when we asked the question at United Counties, because it's not easily liquid money as it might seem like it is.
No.
Yeah,
no, it's-
okay. Okay, as long as we're not breaking a bylaw or policy, I'm totally fine with it. So what's your question?
I got a question, Chief. What's a new pumper worth today?
Through the chair, anywhere from 650.
Is that what we spent on the last one?
I'm sorry, 650? Holy jeepers.
That was a good correction.
Yeah, we got 428 towards it, we still owe Chipotle, cheap, I gotta say order one for 2027, but wow. I didn't realize that expensive. Oh, we got 427,000 towards one, so.
Will we have another one to dispose of when we order that one?
Through the chair, yes.
How much was that for?
427, 650, we got a raise, depends what you get. I mean, you never know.
200. Yeah, it takes another 75 hours.
Hmm.
Not far.
No.
25.
No. Just curious.
Hmm.
Well, that's a good haul anyways, Chief.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a good.
Didn't we have a reserve of 20,000 or something? What was that we had for that?
Through the chair, yeah, we hoping we was 7, we got 15, 20,000.
Yeah, yeah,
Do we know where it went?
yeah,
Went to Eastway Tank and we repeat.
I thought we were out of business, so.
Interesting. Have to check quickly. Okay, so the chief has read the recommendation and needs somebody to move the recommendation. If there's a discussion, moved by Councilor Martel. Seconded by Councilor Ward. Is there further discussion on the item? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. Moving on then to the Scott Road Transfer Station Waste Site Management Bylaw update. CAO. I will make a note, please, that Councilor Martel has left the table and will not participate in the conversation or roll his eyes in any way. You just highlight the changes for us, CEO, if that.
Sure, I think there's been some additional definitions put together for better clarity. In particular, some of those items have just been, instead of waste disposal attendant, it's been now transfer station attendant. Transfer area, transfer station site. And then I think some refinements with respect to some of the definitions with respect to white goods and, a further expansion on construction ways. And then I think a bigger note is it's been something that we've been doing at the transfer station with respect to tires and tires with rims. But it's the removal of charging in and out for tires that are on rims. They're required to be received at no cost. That will bring the bylaw into check with what we're doing on site now. Generally, those are probably the main highlights, I would say, with respect to the changes in the bylaw.
And going to the old bylaw, page 133 has a rather intricate. 133 of 137 has a rather intricate, amount of what can and what can't, and triaxle and trailers and tandems and what it costs for a carload and all that. Is that included in this bylaw?
No, that would actually not include in that bylaw.
Is there a reason?
Well, really, when the 2011 bylaw was in there, it was actually a landfill operation.
Right.
So that's why, because that would have actually most likely at that point incorporated construction waste.
Okay. All right, I do have a few more questions, but I'll open it up for discussion. So does anyone have any questions regarding the bylaw? Chris? Steve? Karen? No. Okay, so I have a couple. So in the new transfer station, there are less and less, it's more difficult to get rid of paint and hazardous waste. Will the new transfer site have any ability to on a regular basis collect any hazardous waste at all?
No, the ECA doesn't permit us to.
It doesn't.
To collect household hazardous waste.
Okay, so the only way that we'll be able to continue doing that is through the United Counties run days.
It would be through the United County run days, or there may be an option to try to look to amend the ECA through the process.
But presently,
Presently,
that agreement doesn't allow us.
we are not able to accept.
Okay, the next question is, and sorry.
Just another point of that is the existing site. It would be really difficult to have proper facilities there to store that material. You probably need like still containment and so forth on the container. There's just no room.
So the present site or the new site?
Present site. New site has plenty of space.
Yeah,
But
so under the new, we could potentially, if we wanted to do that.
through the ECA for the work.
We've left, I know that you made considerable changes when we requested them before, but that would give. I just think it's an increase in service. It's a way for folks, so they're not dumping them places they shouldn't dump them, right? I won't say where, but it gives them a better option. I mean, people are waiting once a year to try to get rid of these goods, and I think it's fantastic that they run the day and they do that. But I mean, having something that's more accessible for folks on a more regular basis makes a lot of sense. So, but we would have to. That's a different discussion. Okay. My next one is, we've certainly had a lot of discussions about clean yards over the last 4 years, a willingness or a want for people to take better care of their yards, to clean up trees, to clean up areas in general. And I see that there's still a $5 per load charge included on brush, tree limbs, stumps and that sort of stuff. Any consideration given to removing that charge at all? Do we really generate enough? Dollars in the 10 months that we charge that it's worthwhile?
Well, typically to coincide with the spring and fall.
Right.
Collection, there's 1 month where that's received free of charge. I think it's safe to say that during those 2 months, there is a considerable uptake from the community on trying to hit those Saturdays. It's certainly an option that, maybe the council looking to have that free of charge. Probably will increase activity, but no offsetting revenue.
Is there a drawback to? Is there a potential drawback? I struggle to see where there's a drawback, that's all. And I'm just curious if I'm missing something.
The only drawback is if you looked at it as a user paid system, like we're not the revenue that's coming in is covering our expenses.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, so you're gonna further that.
I have no appetite in doing that. No, I mean, I don't see an issue with $5. And you get November, you get March or April,
Usually you get May,
or May, but so,
May and November.
so we get 2 though, right? May and November.
There's definitely 2, that's why I said 10 months.
Yeah, so
10 months where you get charged.
I can't. I don't have an appetite even looking at that. I think everything works smooth like that. If anything is maybe. I like to see it open on a Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with increased hours, but
So the chair, tomorrow, the waste transfer site is open for leaf and brush. Deposit for residents.
I'm sorry?
Leaf and brush deposit tomorrow, at the waste transfer site is open tomorrow from 7:30 to 3 p.m.
Right.
We did that in May, we had an extra day for residents and it was successful for.
good.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And the increase is only for leaf and brush. It's not for regular garbage.
And reason why we're doing that is a delicate balance, because our ECA speaks to being open Saturday morning.
So we're limited by 1 day a week for the UCA.
Right? So
If we were looking,
if we're specifying brush and leaf deposit, I think we're okay, but I just wouldn't want to be going out without going through a process.
right. Okay, so that's where I was headed. I had 2 questions. One was, does it further a clean yards bylaw by going free? I've heard no. And, can we increase the hours at the dump site to allow people twice a week instead of just once? But we would have to amend the ECA to be able to allow the transfer station to do that. So
Could it hold it? Could we do it?
Well,
I'm saying the same hours, half the noon, that's it.
well, I'm sure that the public works manager, or director of operations can speak to it, but I think you have those windows like spring cleanup time and fall where it's a heavy load where we like.
Where it's already open.
so it's not needed.
I don't know, I don't know what the update would be, like maybe.
I get people saying they work on Saturdays. That's. Not a lot of people, but I do get people come up and say, I wish it was open on.
No, I do too.
Yeah, you know, so that's all I was looking at, on a Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday morning or something. To give them that.
But ultimately, once the new
Another
site's
option.
open, if we decided to go that route, you know, we're talking a while before this gets open.
I think that would be a discussion.
If we wanted to grow it.
And you're.
Yeah.
Transitioning to a new site.
Okay, yeah, and I think where I'm going with it. It's a new bylaw, but it's the old site.
Okay.
So, okay, all right, any further then? One's gone, price is gone. Okay, so then is there a recommendation? Sorry.
No, I just want to mention that it's probably best to consolidate all of your ideas for the new transit site first before you go do ECAs like we're talking about. Let's have this way to keep talking about
Right.
longer hours and stuff, because each time is a long process.
Right,
And
yeah, if we're gonna do it once, right?
right,
Yeah, it's good advice for sure. Okay, and am I under the? There's gotta be a recommendation.
There is page 113.
All right, so. I will get there eventually. The recommendation reads that committee recommends the council adopt the proposed updated transfer station waste management bylaw as attached. There's only two of you. Which one's moving? Moved by Councilor Ward. Deputy, are you going to
I'm gonna
second?
second it.
Okay, there we go. We can vote. All in favor? All right, move. Can the CAO please note that after that discussion, Mr. Martell has resumed his chair. And I believe we're on to councilor inquiries and notices of motion. Does anyone have an inquiry or a notice of motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Fire away, deputy.
Thank you. Mr. Spencer, this is to you, please, if I may. What's our plans for the Christmas lights and wreaths for Cardinal?
Good question.
So. I don't believe that actually is, Mr. Spencer.
Who is it?
That's typically Public Works.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Christian. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we
I just thought you were.
Me too.
Through the chair, we have these stored like to the Cardinal. Correct. We get them ready. And then we contact RSL, needs.
But when I guess my question is, what's the date? And
I just received an email this morning. From Skater started this week and we went in RSL can install it.
the thing, what I'd like to bring forward is, if I may, for discussion, I like to alter your plans that you always put the wreaths downtown. I'd like to see 3 or 4 on number 2 highway. This is my opinion. I just need some output from the council. And I like that big tree that's coming in by the Senate decorated again. It was always decorated and got away from it. I like to see new lights in that big, do you know the tree I'm talking about coming in I like that decorated. And there's 2 smaller trees there. Right beside it, 2 blue spruce. I asked by the Cardinal Legion if they could have them to decorate and to sell their ornaments, and all the money goes towards the veterans. So that's why before you started, I'd like to know, right? So there are trees? Pardon? There are. I don't know who owns that? There must be. There are trees, aren't they there? But it's Senate. I don't know. Senate? Yeah. Is that ours?
No, they're ours.
Yeah, and that big one? That big one's ours.
No, there would be a problem, so yes, they would be ours.
No, it's not a problem, but they are ours, right? That's why I'm asking. I like to see it decorated and I like to get permission to have those 2.
The mask is well planned.
Yeah, it is. It's great to see that. I wish I could see it believe that.
As well.
I'm just looking for guidance, if I may, if council would support me on that.
So you're asking to change a couple, do we use all the wreaths that we presently have? We do?
So even if we don't have them, can we take 4 off and put them in.
Would it be hard to change a location with RSL?
Yes, because they've set up and wired each location. So we would require RSL to go and actually. Especially wire. Those other locations. Right now, it's just a drop in the flow.
Okay. I
so to
see,
speak.
right,
So
could we do it? And we'll just-
I would say we would look into it for 2024, but this year. I would leave them where they are, especially. Considering that. Those REITs were redone by a local business and, without. Certainly would like to at least indicate that we may be looking at moving some of those. And then get a price on
Maybe we
that.
could look at adding 3.
Okay,
You know what I
so
mean?
can we add something though in the meantime? I don't even care if it lights up. Just like a big reef or something that shows. Out there, I mean, what I'm saying is we got new pavement, new, it's gonna look nice, we have the big tree decorated again. Well, just put a little spark into that town, that's all I'm asking, I'm not asking, I don't think for the world. That's all. I still like to see what's underneath that mask, but anyway, so. I guess I'm looking for support from the table.
Well, without it turning into a full-on discussion, I certainly could support, you're looking to, under an inquiry to give a little direction, I certainly would support the addition of a couple of new ones there, if we can't just use the old ones, yeah, or at least an option.
Yeah, I'm not even, if we can't do it in 2023, okay, I just thought something even without lights. The candy canes or whatever. But I would like that tree decorated this year.
I also had a resident last year inquire about doing that tree,
Oh,
saying we used to do it, why don't we do it now?
I got hit hard the other day, so. Can it be done?
That's the inquiry.
Well, that's the.
He has lost.
We'll see what we can do to try to get something together for this year, but. It's getting to be mid-November.
That's why we brought it up tonight, yes, I know.
We've got a call tree that probably is going to need to bring in. Maybe RSL, like, it's just,
That's good, yeah, St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence Hydro.
yeah, it's not free.
No. Okay, but it is Christmas and I just want to spark that corner off.
And I don't want to be seen as being Ebenezer Scrooge either.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for that.
It's probably not, depends on exactly what you would like it to be, but we'll see what we can do.
Okay, can we make it look nice? And can the Legion have those 2 small trees? To decorate and sell their,
That's the inquiry, can you look into it and get back to me? Sure. There.
thank you.
Okay, mayor's report,
Can I?
sorry, you can, yeah, if you have an.
Through the chair to the CAO, it's been a couple of meetings since we've talked about the canal stability report. Are we anywhere on that? Bearing in mind, I'm only here for another 3 years.
Where, so meeting with Solid and sanitation for. For this, Pollard, which would be the engineering firm that would have actually done the original report.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'll certainly see if I can get an answer before the 3 years are up.
It's 75% of the term left, Joe.
Don't believe it when I see it.
All right, is there?
No, I'm serious, hang in there.
We're awesome. Are there any further inquiries or notices of motion?
Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to mayor's report. I really don't have anything to report. I will say again, for the folks that are here, if you didn't register for the ACDEV seminar, it is on Friday. In Kempville at North Grenville. Brian Lenny, who is our contact from Enbridge Gas, is the chief note speaker there. We will have him, I believe, on the 16th in advance for some questions and for some discussion about gas line expansion. But I believe that on the 17th there is an open mic session where we can ask him any question you like. You can walk up to the mic and ask it, but you need to be in attendance to do it. So if you haven't bought a ticket, I suggest you contact the clerk or the CAO clerk and get registered within here at the earliest possibility.
I don't think there's any ticket.
No tickets left. She sold out. Okay, well, if you didn't buy one, then snooze you lose. And that's it for me. Question period. There's no one for questions. There's nobody online, correct? So closed session. Who has going into closed session?
I do.
Read it.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Noah. The committee proceeds into closed session at 8:50. 9:48 in order to address a matter section 2B personal. Matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically operational sustainability, and minutes of closed session dated September 11th, 2023 and October 10th, 2023. B, section 2392C, acquisition or disposition of the land by the municipality or local boards, specifically buyers of the property.
Thank you for moving and seconding. To the CAO, just a quick point of maybe, I don't know, quick point. We're obviously going to take a 5-minute recess. That's going to put us at 5 to 10. Right. We'll be in closed session. Before we go into closed session, do we want to make a motion now to extend the meeting? Do I have to deal with this first? Before, can I just have a mover in a second or go into close session? Or to extend the meeting past the 10 p.m. deadline? Okay, so moved by Chris Ward, seconded by Joe Martel, Councilor Joe Martel, to extend the deadline past 10 p.m. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, now I will call the question on going into closed session. All in favor? Okay, we're in closed session. 5-minute break while we clear the. Ask you. Gotta have this. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm gonna tell you. What I said. I can't move it any faster. You have to have discussion. You're gonna have a consent again, but. Listen, I've sat through 5 meetings. Say want now, it's not going to get included. We're gonna get we can do that in 2025. Oh, yeah. We've got a closed session.
I do. But the moved by myself and seconded by.
Hold on, we're muted. Okay, good. Okay.
Go ahead. 10:47.
10:47.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Martel that the closed meeting of the committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 10:47 p.m.
Okay, ending the closed session, coming back out into open, all in favor? Okay, we're back in open session. Do I report out first or do we do the minutes first?
Do the minutes.
Okay.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Joe Martel, that committee receives and approves the closed session minutes dated September 11th, 2023 and October 10th, 2023.
Okay, approving minutes that we dealt with other times and approving them through this closed session after reviewing them in closed session. All in favor? Right. Okay. And now it's report out, correct? Okay, so reporting out of closed session. Council met on two different items. One was section 239(2)B. Which were personnel matters about an identified individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically operational sustainability. And we provided direction regarding this to the CAO. And reporting out on closed session item B, which is under section 239, 2C, which is a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically the Byers Road property. Reporting out of this, we also gave direction to the CAO in this matter. And that's it for reporting out. And I think the last item should be adjournment, correct, CAO?
Yeah.
Move on a second by Mr. Martel, that the committee does now adjourn at 10:49 p.m.
It's not good, right? All right, so non-debatable, all in favor?
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's 11 o'clock, yeah.
Honestly, tonight it doesn't feel like it's not.
No, you had a nap this afternoon. You're fucking moving. Stop.
I didn't have them out.
Oh, you didn't have a nap?
I didn't even see it not up. I didn't